Sisters, brothers, can we talk for a minute? Listen. Yeah. The air is thick with whispers, digital ghosts in the machine. They feed us fiction till our visions blur. You know the scene, you know it. Static on the screen, a 24-hour screen. All day, selling us a fractured dream, tearing at the seams. Facts, they got us locked in little boxes, picking sides. Pick a sides, while the real tide rises. And nobody hides, nobody. Podiums are burning, bridges turn to ash and dust. They trade rhetoric like bullets, banking on our lack of trust. That's right. Got us debating headlines while the rent keeps going high. Got us fighting over labels while the future passes by. Like politicians playing chess with pawns that look like you and me. Selling off tomorrow for another jump in GDP. And what we talking about, the foolishness, the vanity. Arguing online while communities lose humanity. A fake voice on a fake beat gets more rage and more ink than a real mother working 3 jobs standing on the brink. They engineered the outrage, designed it to divide. So we never look up from our phones to see the coming tide. Can you hear the war drums pounding out a rhythm low? They're marching us to battle for a God we do not know. They want us choosing colors, but our blood all runs the same. Just strangers in a mirror, whispering a different name. And I'm praying for the day the sun won't care what shade we are, that we can see the human heart behind the battle scar. Tear down the flags and see the faces before we run out of safe places. I see the babies born into this atmosphere of hate. Taught to fear their neighbor before they learn to communicate. Lines drawn in the sand by hands that never touch the soil. While the working class backbone is bent in endless toil. From city blocks to country roads, from oceans to the plains. Different stories, different struggles, but we're carrying the same pain. Keep the people fighting over scraps upon the floor, so they never band together and demand a little more. Tell 'em they call it patriotism, tradition, call it pride. I call it ancient venom with a modern place to hide. Skin tone is the uniform they gave us for their war. The soul inside the flesh is what we should be fighting for. And I'm tired, so tired of singing this eulogy. Such a high people drown, believe manufactured hostility. The people got the power if they ever truly see. See, the chains are built from fear, not inevitability. Break free. No politician can heal a divided heart. No billionaire can tell us who we are. Who we are. The answer lives inside the people. Inside the people. Inside the people. Can you hear the war drum pounding out a rhythm low? They're marching us to battle for a God we do not know. They want us choosing colors, but our blood all runs the same. Just strangers in a mirror, whispering a different name. And I'm praying for the day the sun won't care what shade we are, that we can see the human heart behind the battle scar. Tear down the flags and see the faces before we run out of safe places. What if we looked each other in the eye, past the melanin, past the zip codes, and the bank accounts they fence us in? What if our only currency was empathy and grace? What if we found our real reflection in a stranger's face? This ain't a lyric, it's a lifeline. This ain't a song, it's a reminder. The real war was never race against race or neighbor against neighbor. It's truth against deception, wisdom against ignorance, love against fear. And every single day we choose which side wins. Yo, Imani, talk your talk. Facts, facts. I came with receipts, I ain't come to play. Expose every lie they've been selling all day. Head held high, I ain't ducking no smoke. So, truth hit harder when the system broke. Talk to him. I came with receipts, every file got names. Everybody loud till accountability came. We ain't moving in fear, we applying that heat. Better tighten up now, cause I brought the receipts. Let's go, let's go. See the cameras flash when the hearings start. Whole room shook when they spoke from the heart. Trying to cut me off, now I claim my time. Every interruption just exposed the crime. History long, but the memory longer. Pressure make diamonds, pressure make stronger. You can twist headlines, spin every thread. Can't rewrite facts when the truth been said. Everybody gangster behind that desk. To the numbers show the public been stressed. Families hurting while they paint pretty pictures. Meanwhile, pockets getting thin about a minute. Facts. Tell them stop capping quick gaslight games. People buy eggs with a pocket full of change. You can fake statistics on a PowerPoint slide, but the checkout line don't never lie. Who gon' speak? We will. Who gon' fight? All night. Who gon' stand when they kill our rights? We will. We will. I came with receipts, I ain't come to play. Expose every lie they've been selling all day. Head held high, I ain't ducking no smoke. Truth hit harder when the system broke. Let's ride. Let's ride. I came with receipts, every file got names. Everybody loud till accountability came. We ain't moving in fair, we applying that heat. Better tighten up now, cause I brought the receipts. Courtrooms echo, but the streets hit louder. Every bad ruling made the movement prouder. Take one vote, then we register 10. Built from the block, let the people win. Can't silence voices born from struggle. Built these dreams through pain and hustle. Grandma marched so I could speak. Now I'm 10 toes down every single week. Every chapter got another revelation. People waking up across the nation. Ain't no crime without confrontation. Truth is the spark for transformation. Wake up, ain't about left, ain't about right. It's about wrong hiding under bright lights. Question everything, don't question names. Power belongs to the people, not the fame. If they tell you hush, if they tell you wait, move now. If they tell you quit, if they shut one door, if they shut one door, build more doors. Look. Look, I don't need permission. I was born with a mission. Every generation got a choice. I'm choosing resistance. Feel like a weapon, mic like a torch. Truth keep burning till it like the whole floor. Kingdoms fall when the people unite. Darkness disappear when they turn on the light. Ain't chasing black, I'm chasing change. Every verse another broken chain. Break it, break it, break it. Every sister standing up. Every brother finding peace. Every time watching us. Learning courage, don't decrease it, multiplies. I can't move the seats. I ain't come to play. Truth don't fall when the headlines fade. Built for the pressure, built for the fight. We keep pushing to the future, look bright. Let's go. Hands to the sky, voices repeat. Justice ain't giving, you earn every seat. From the block to the ballot, from the mic to the street. We ain't leaving till the people complete their mission. The mission facts, the movement, stand up. No fear, we brought the receipts. Truth.
Hey y'all, what's up? It's your girl Golden, and we are back with another live, y'all. You know we had to get back into again the regular scheduled program, and so we are coming to y'all today with some global politics with purpose, and we're going to be talking about a few things that are going on in the political headlines, like we typically do. It is getting a little bit late here, y'all, and we are running a bit behind, so it's almost about 4 p.m. Eastern time here in the United States in the Carolinas. And I know it's a lot much later for my beautiful co-host Imani. So we're gonna try to get right on through this, y'all. Really quickly, don't want to hold you too long, but just coming back with some updates for our political spaces. I hope you all are having a wonderful day in whatever time zone it is you're in, whether it's morning, afternoon, evening, or night. Um, like I said, the sun is out, so y'all know what it means. I'm in a good mood, but I had to be out there today because I had to handle some business earlier, and so I was out in that sun and that heat. And y'all know I don't like that. I like to look at the sun. It puts me in a good mood. I don't like to be hot. Now, anyway, let's move forward, y'all. Imani, girl, how are you doing? How are you feeling? I know you had a busy day as well, and it's a lot later there for you than it is for me. But what's going on, girl? How you doing?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm good. I had a few errands myself, and I have been out in the heat as well. But yeah, everything's fine. Yeah, we were just running a little bit later today because we both had stuff to take care of and some personal business to do. But how are you anyway, apart from being hot and humid?
No, I'm fine. I'm fine now, girl. As soon as I came home, I said, child, I'm hopping in the shower to cool on
Mm,
down, be up in the AC again. And so I'm all right now, but the hustle and bustle, you gotta go out, you gotta do things, you got appointments, things like that. So,
mm.
but I'm doing fine now, child. Just chilling. Um, yeah, that's about it. Child, and the thing is, the heat just will make your mind all twisted about. But child, we're not gonna be all over the
Really?
place. We're gonna get right into it. Okay, don't worry, y'all. We're gonna stay focused despite the sun and the heat. We're gonna stay
No,
focused. But yeah, all in all, it's
no,
a good day. Easy day, but a good
no.
day.
I'm
Yeah.
I'm actually quite good today. I haven't had a look at the chat yet, so nobody's got me all heated today. Um, but yeah, no, I've been good. I haven't had time to look at what's going on, so I haven't really been focused on the stuff that's going on around there. There's a lot of stuff happening in the world,
Mm,
both in my world and other worlds. So, I've had a pretty busy day, so I haven't really focused on the tomfuckery and the foolery today. So I don't really know, and I'm not up to speed. And I think that's probably for the best anyway.
exactly. And y'all, I just want to let y'all know before we start the content. I know this sometimes can be a bit confusing. I am streaming from two channels, Mama Warriors channel and the Golden Defiance Queen channel. Had a small hiccup, but is back and up for operation and whatnot. So depending on whichever one y'all want to join, if you want to join, it's absolutely up to you whether you join via Mama Warriors channel or you come to the Golden Defiance Queen channel. Today we are streaming from both, so yeah. But yeah, we're gonna go ahead and get to the politics. Did you have anything for housekeeping, Imani? I don't know if you prepared anything. I know I have a few things, but it's not nothing, relating to YouTube. Just a few things that I wanted to say.
No, I don't really have anything for now. I'll leave mine till the end. That's fine. You
Like,
go ahead. You take the wheel, girl.
child, I don't know
I'm
if you want
just
to
a
do that.
passenger.
You don't want to tell me to take the wheel, girl. We might end up on the side of the road somewhere. Okay.
No, no, I'm just a happy passenger today. So you take the wheel. But feel
That
free.
means you
Feel
trust me
free.
with your life. I appreciate that. That means you trust me with your life.
No, listen. Let's
Child,
not
girl.
talk about
We
that.
trust
That's
God
a
with our
couple.
life. We
Let,
trust God with our life. Okay.
yeah, we trust. Yeah, we trust God with our life. We won't talk about who other people are trusting with their life. That's a story for another day, and we don't have time on this live.
We don't have time. Let me just pop into the housekeeping real quick, y'all, and we'll get into the content. So just a few things that I wanted to, speak upon. Um, I don't know if y'all are, political watchers, if you really even enjoy politics. It's not enjoyable, but it's necessary, right? And so for me, basically, like I do tap into it. I never thought I would be somebody who would tap into it, but I am now. And when I look around the world, I just see that there are so many wars that are waging. They're not just happening overseas, but in our own neighborhoods, our own screens, and in our daily lives. We are constantly seeming like we are at war. So I'm just saying, like, yo, when does the ceasefire begin? It seems like that we're constantly fighting each other, letting divisions pull us apart, and becoming the very reason for our own divide. The truth is, we have bigger battles to fight than each other. Life can be short sometimes, and time is very precious. Every drop of energy spent on hatred, revenge, or pettiness is energy wasted. The ball is entirely in our court. We have to choose every single day to stop driving people apart and start building bridges instead. Again, that's a personal choice. A true ceasefire isn't just about putting down the weapons, it's about laying down the urge to cause harm. It means choosing peace over bitterness. Even if we disagree and even if we part ways, we don't have to wish harm or do harm to one another. Walking away in peace can be strength. Choosing unity over division as human beings, we are infinitely stronger together than we are when we're torn apart. And choosing to do the work. Real peace isn't an oversight switch. It's a choice that I am making for myself and something I know that I'll have to constantly work on. This doesn't mean that any of us will be perfect. We are human and we're going to fall short sometimes. I know I will, and I know that I do. But I'm committed to keeping at it and trying my very best every single day. And maybe together we all can do the same. So here on this channel, with Golden Queen, with Imani, with Mama Warrior, we believe in bringing order, light, and calm into the space. But peace starts in the heart before it ever reflects in our homes and our proximities. Let's lead by example, which is something I need to do better. Let's lower our defenses, stop waging war with one another, and give ourselves and each other grace to keep trying. Like I said, the ball is literally in our court. So let's try and choose peace. If y'all feel what I'm saying, y'all let me know. If y'all like that housekeeping, y'all let me know. But that's all we got for the housekeeping. Did you have anything you want to add to that, Imani, before we go ahead and get into what we'll be talking about for our global political life?
Yeah, I do. I agree with every word you said. But however, that does not mean that people can come in here and try and play in our face and talk ish and distract the lives, because you will be escorted out swiftly, because I'm not here to play any more silly little games. You do that stuff on your own channels. That's the only thing I've got to add to your piece. I believe in peace, but don't bring the BS to here when we've got lives going and we don't want to talk about it. Talk about that in your own space. That's the only thing that I can add, because I've got like zero tolerance now for it. That's all. That's the
Right. And
caveat.
we don't need big homie CC to do it. You know, we can pretty much handle it amongst ourselves, right?
Yeah, we
Okay,
don't.
y'all. Let
We
me stop
don't need
clowning.
big homie CC, but we
We don't
will
need
be
big.
showing you about elite security soon, by the way. And that
Child.
you'll have to wait and see. No, don't give the
Oh
game
my,
away.
my, my. Oh my. Yeah,
Yeah.
you know.
Okay.
Uh,
So yeah, but apart from that, I've got nothing else to add.
Okay, let's get into it, y'all. Let me stop clowning because we have some serious topics that we're gonna be getting into. So I gotta get back serious. Okay. So we're taking a deep dive into the critical headlines demanding truth and accountability. From two tragic, suspicious drownings involving young black student athletes to military cover-up allegations, high-stake presidential pushback, and international threats. So we're gonna bring y'all a few unfiltered stories. Per usual, y'all know that we like to start out by listening to things that are going on worldwide. And so we will be listening to some coverage when it comes to the platform of Democracy Now! That basically does daily updates of what is going on worldwide. and they give a snapshot of major national and global developments. We also are asking for justice for Nolan Wells. There is a lot that is still trying to, be found out about that case. We do have some commentary here from Judge Mathis, and he's breaking his silence after a second independent autopsy reveals some deep head and neck trauma to Nolan Wells' body after being said that, his unaliving or no longer being with us was due to just drowning alone. We also are going to connect Nolan Wells' story to the Mike Irvin case, the Daniel Mike Irvin case. Evidence tampering, arrest, and coverage from indisputable with Dr. Rashad Ritchie in the drowning of a Chasse High Honor student. We also are going to be talking about Trump, y'all. And, not very interesting, but we got to talk about it. So we'll be talking about Trump and some Pentagon scandals, allegations of casualty cover-ups and pushback against military disclosures, public reaction to administration statements, backlash and criticism following recent presidential addresses, Trump and FIFA face legal pressure, human rights coalitions and press watchdogs press for consequences following the World Cup execution, and iHip News, we love them over here. We'll be speaking about some Iranian threats, escalating security alerts, and diplomatic friction surrounding threats against the U.S. leadership. Again, all tied into Trump. And we also will hear at the very end Representative Jasmine Crockett in the congregational attacked. Fiery floor remarks calling out political hypocrisy over high-profile abuse scandals. Y'all will see we're going to get into those topics in more detail. That is just a close rundown. So the first one we were going to be talking about, and we're going to, per usual, unless you see the news clip, right, that is protected under
Sorry.
copyright 107 for educational purposes. So we will be showing y'all the news. This is the news that we're sharing with y'all, what is going on in the news. But go ahead, Imani.
Sorry, I just want to say, is this one about 15 minutes?
Which one? The first one we starting off with?
Yeah.
So the first one we starting off with, 15 minutes and 18 seconds. But we're gonna split it up.
Yeah, we'll split it
all
up
of it.
into about
So,
3 parts. So I just want to time it so that I know. Okay.
yeah. And
Okay.
so we'll be getting into that, y'all, so we can just see some of the things that is going on, not just in the United States, which happens to be the country that I live in, but a lot of things that are happening in the worldwide headlines as of July 28th, which is today. A concise wrap-up of the day's major international policy shifts, congressional developments, and civil rights movement. Global diplomatic climate, international human rights organizations review post-World Cup travel policies, visa regulations, and border enforcements across the North America. Domestic oversight pushes heightened debates on Capitol Hill regarding federal agency transparency, public safety, and civil rights protections, and grassroots advocacy. Community groups nationwide push state and federal authorities for independent oversight and suspicions of investigations involving the Black youth. Per usual, y'all know we got videos to show you. So let me go ahead and pop this up real quick. And like I said, we can't play too much. We're going to play, we're going to talk, we're going to play, we're going to talk, we're going to play, we're going to talk. But let's go ahead and listen to the news coverage for educational purposes. Let me get into that really quick, y'all. Give me just a second to get this up here so we can listen to it together. And per usual, y'all know that we will meet y'all in the chat and we'll talk about this together. So give me just a second to get everything set up. There's that. Let me get my man over here. This StreamYard is moving so slow. It is so buggy. But anyway, it's okay. All right, y'all. Let's get into this video together. We will meet y'all in the chat and discuss some of the things that we hear. Let's get into it.
to Democracy Now!, democracynow.org, The War and Peace Report. I'm Amy Goodman. France and Spain are bracing for another heat wave as thousands of firefighters and troops continue to battle unprecedented fires that have forced over 360,000 people to evacuate their homes. In a town in eastern Spain, residents describe devastating scenes from this weekend.
It was like in the movies where hell cracked the ground open and you see the red hell. That's how it was here. On Saturday night, this hill was horrific. In this area with houses, there were flames 15 to 20 meters tall. It was an atrocity. I can't describe the helplessness that a person feels to see their home, their neighbors' homes, their town, their neighborhood burning.
Spanish Prime Minister Pedro Sanchez linked the fires to the escalating climate emergency.
What
we are living is not a succession of isolated events. As has been said before, it is the most painful expression of a climate emergency that is making sixth-generation wildfires more voracious, heat waves more frequent, and as a result, our territory more vulnerable. This is no longer an exception. It is the new reality. Summers are becoming increasingly difficult, destructive, and therefore deadly.
Here in the United States, major fires in Oregon have burned more than 1 million acres of land and forced the closure of Interstate 84 for some 70 miles. According to the Oregon Department of Forestry, there are dozens of active large fires burning across the state. Meanwhile, in Minnesota, fires have burned about 68,000 acres in Superior National Forest and nearby areas. The Washington Post reports the Biden administration had approved $10 million to thin out Superior National Forest to help prevent fires. But last year, the Trump administration's DOGE program paused or canceled nearly all the Forest Service's grant projects and funds. A former U.S. Forest Service district ranger said, quote, "Had that work been implemented, it would have been effective in stopping or slowing down these fires." President Trump is hosting Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu at the White House today for the first time since the U.S. and Israel launched their war against Iran 5 months ago. The meeting comes as Trump weighs his next steps in Iran. On Friday, Trump paused strikes after 2 weeks of attacks. On Monday, he told Axios, quote, "We are in very deep talks with Iran. If they don't work out, we'll go back to very strong military action," he said. In June, Trump and Netanyahu reportedly had a tense phone call with Trump repeatedly calling the Israeli prime minister, quote, "effing crazy." Netanyahu will also attend today's funeral for Republican Senator Lindsey Graham, who died on July 11th. Over the weekend, the Wall Street Journal published an excerpt from an unreleased documentary showing Senator Graham cheering on the U.S. strikes on Iran.
Look what we've done here. I know. I almost cried. Yeah. I mean, like, how long have we been pushing this?
Well, I mean, you've been pushing this for years, right?
Right. It's here. I talked to Trump this morning.
It's literally.
Oh, he's jacked.
Yeah.
It's the best thing I've ever done. He loves blowing stuff up. So, you know, there are a lot of people inside didn't want to do it. So I've had my challenges.
Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky will also meet with President Trump and then attend Graham's funeral. Zelensky's visit comes days after a Russian ballistic missile struck a large military technology and drone exhibition near Kyiv that had been organized to show off Ukraine's drone technology. The attack killed at least 10 people and injured close to 100. Meanwhile, Ukraine has attacked a major Russian fuel storage depot located more than 800 miles from the Ukrainian border. The Ugandan government has started distributing emergency food relief after 19 people reportedly died in the east of the country due to prolonged drought. The Famine Early Warning Systems Network, a global mapping network on food security, reported conditions of drought in the Karamoja region of Uganda. Crops have failed due to inadequate rain, leaving 1.5 million people in the area to face food shortages and malnutrition. This comes as the World Food Program has been forced to drastically scale back aid to Uganda after significant funding cuts, most recently from USAID. The Trump
Can we hold
administration
it there?
emergency application to the Supreme Court to allow an
Want to pause right there and make some commentary because a lot of that really broke my
Yeah,
heart.
yeah.
You go first.
Right. First thing we're talking about is climate change and the wildfires across Spain, France, and parts of the United States. It's an escalating climate crisis rather than isolated disasters. And Spanish officials are saying that extreme weather events are becoming the new reality, and it's linked to the prolonged heat waves that we've all been seeing, and which is directly linked to climate change. Then we have obviously Trump is meeting up with my favorite and yours, Benjamin Netanyahu, and they have not met since the start of this war. And I believe that there have been tensions around this relationship, even though they probably wouldn't publicize it. But the whatever's going on there is very, very fragile at the moment. And like I said, you know, we shall see what happens. But I think this has really been a cluster F of bad decisions, as everybody knows. And then also, their diplomatic negotiations are not really going that well, and they're still considering military action. So we'll see what happens there. Of course, the war is still raging in Ukraine, where Russian missile strikes and Ukrainian retaliatory attacks are really deep inside the Russian territory. I think the only thing I can say is I think that the Ukrainians have surprised everybody, including very much Russia, because I think Russia thought that this was going to be a walk in the park, and it hasn't been. And it's nothing like a small nation fighting for their sovereignty to raise strengths where they've never seen them. you know and then obviously we move to Uganda, where there is concerns other than war. It's not war there, it's severe drought, food shortages, and of course reduced international aid, and really people that are suffering from hunger, drought. There's multiple global crises unfolding simultaneously, whether it's hunger, climate disasters, wars, and humanitarian emergencies. Governments are really, really dealing with interconnected environmental and geopolitical and other humanitarian challenges all at the same time, with the additional unnecessary conflicts that we have. That's what they're saying in the first part. That's really what I've got to say about what was spoken about. I just wanted to stop it there because there was quite a bit going on. Over to you.
Perhaps, like basically, especially with Democracy Now, what I love about the platform is, we get to learn about things that are happening all over the world, not just in the country, we may desire, reside in, but other countries and what people are going through, what they're suffering through, and dealing with. And oh God. So you basically put the nail on the head when it came to so many of those topics that was discussed thus far. One of the ones that stuck out to me was Lindsey Graham literally sitting there laughing in the office with other individuals and basically just saying that, you know, when it comes to this president that we have right now, the fact that he just likes to blow things up like it's a game of Battleship. Like, this is not Battleship. Doing those type of things is wreaking havoc over many people's lives. It's affecting children, elders, people in general, and you just don't care because that's a sport or that's fun for you. That really just that really rubbed me the wrong way. It made me very angry, because it's not a joke. It's not a joke to be using nuclear weapons to attack certain countries and just blow things up for fun. Like, where does that happen? How is that okay? But anyway, I don't want to get too, emotional about it. I'm going to go ahead and play a little bit more because we have some more updates to cover. And then we're going to get into some of the solid, topics we're going to be talking about. But yeah, this is our global history here when it comes to democracy now. They're telling us a little bit about what's going on around. So let's get back into it, y'all. And we'll meet you in the chat if you want to join.
Executive order that would restrict voting by mail. This comes after a federal appeals court blocked key parts of the executive order over the weekend. The Supreme Court has until August 3rd to respond. Under Trump's executive order, the Department of Homeland Security would create state-by-state lists of eligible voters who are citizens. The U.S. Postal Service would then use the list provided by states to assess if voters should be allowed to vote by mail. In Michigan, Democratic Senate candidates Dr. Abdul El-Sayed and Congressmember Haley Stevens sparred on Monday in the final debate before next Tuesday's primary. It's one of the most closely watched Senate races in the country. The debate moderator, Rup Raj, questioned Stevens about receiving funding from AIPAC, the American Israel Public Affairs Committee.
Congresswoman, specifically about AIPAC money, more than $46 million has been spent on AIPAC spending to back your campaign. A lot of people wonder if that is something where you're going to do their bidding should you win this seat. Is that something people should be concerned about? And if not, why not?
Absolutely not, Rup. Look, I have been very clear, consistent, and transparent, and I have continued to be. I want to see long-term peace. I want to see a two-state solution. I am deeply proud to represent one of the largest Jewish populations in a congressional district in the country.
During the debate, Dr. El-Sayed repeatedly criticized Congressmember Stevens for taking AIPAC money.
So I just want to say the difference between us is $46 million of AIPAC spending. They've set a record in this race to help elect my opponent because they know that she'll be a reliable vote, just like she took last week to send your tax dollars to a foreign government that is aiding, arming, and abetting the very people who want to foreclose on the possibility of Palestinian self-determination.
ICE is reportedly stepping up plans to arrest and deport Haitian migrants as hundreds of thousands of Haitians are set to lose their status under TPS, the Temporary Protected Status Program. The Supreme Court last month sided with the Trump administration to end TPS for Haitians and Syrians. According to an internal government document, the plans to round up and deport Haitian immigrants could start this week. Gerline Joseph, executive director of the Haitian Bridge Alliance, said, quote, "Once again, our community members find themselves in a state of extreme trauma, fear, and terror. One of them told me it feels like a tsunami or an earthquake with non-stop aftershock," she said. The Trump administration's issued new regulations that could result in hundreds of thousands of asylum seekers being sent directly to deportation proceedings instead of giving them a chance to be interviewed first by an asylum officer. The rule could impact 440,000 cases. Doris Meisner, the director of the U.S. Immigration Policy Program at the Migration Policy Institute, said, quote, The ultimate impact of making this change certainly seems to be to try to deny as many cases as possible without regard to the fairness of the determination, unquote. This comes as the Trump administration has fired more than 100 immigration judges and replaced them with military lawyers and former prosecutors for the Department of Homeland Security. The Justice Department dropped its case against SEIU union leader David Huerta. Last year, he was charged with obstructing an officer after being arrested while protesting ICE raids in Los Angeles. Video from the event showed a masked officer shoving Huerta to the ground during the demonstration. In a statement, Huerta said the Trump DOJ, quote, is finally admitting what we knew from day one and what was obvious to anyone who saw the videos. The charge against me was baseless, meant to intimidate anyone who dares to speak out, organize, or demand justice, Union President Huerta said. In Brazil, the eldest son of jailed former President Jair Bolsonaro has formally launched a campaign to challenge President Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva in Brazil's next election. Flavio Bolsonaro is a right-wing senator who's already received the backing of Argentine President Javier Milei and Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. Jair Bolsonaro is serving a 27-year prison sentence for leading a coup attempt against his 2022 election defeat.
All right, y'all, we're going to stop it right there for a quick commentary break. So, Imani, from these few reports that we heard just now, what are some of your thoughts that you have on these topics here before I give some of mine? You're muted. You can unmute.
Sorry. We got the elections coming up, so therefore, what's the focus going to be on? Let's try and suppress the vote. So there's a lot of people focusing on suppressing the mail voting and using executive authority. How sway and how surprising not. And then obviously immigration still a major theme in this government across the globe, actually, with many of the Western governments. And they're discussing, well, first of all, the changes to the temporary protected status, which will affect a lot of Haitian migrants. This is, quite shocking that this has been reversed and it has been upheld by the Supreme Court. Like I said, when with most of this stuff, when we looked at even some of the Black history, when people are feeling the pain in their pockets, the first thing that people attack is those who are the most vulnerable. That protected status was not given for absolutely no reason. And then they're moving on to, asylum seekers. And now, don't get me wrong, there are some at times fraudulent cases. But most people who are fleeing and are coming to seek asylum are not seeking asylum because they want to go on a shopping tour in Manhattan or to a shopping mall. They are fleeing some war-torn countries that some of our, and I say our, Western governments have messed up. And that's the reason why they've ended up being refugees elsewhere. It's because of the interference of major governments in their lands. And this is why they end up as refugees. And there are many other reasons that people will end up as asylum seekers. It could be due to being persecuted because of their sexuality, their gender choices. And there are a whole basket of reasons why people end up at the gate, knocking on the door, trying to seek asylum. See, it's not that straightforward. Then we have an important decision by the Justice Department to drop charges against the union leader David Huerta. And it's an important decision because it is raising the issue of whether people can peacefully protest without being prosecuted. So it's really, in this section, there's a lot about constitutional rights, elections, immigration enforcement, and civil liberties. It is about the domestic situation, but you can see these situations spiraling in other countries, and immigration is a big focus for most of Europe as well as the US. So we need to keep our eyes and ears peeled for this type of stuff. It's not going to go away. And, you know, the migrants are not normally your problem. Maybe if some of those billionaires might pay some of the taxes in your country and my country, as they should do, maybe there might be a little bit more to go around for other people rather than the poorest subsidizing these government costs whilst they sun it up and do whatever they want with their tax breaks. I mean, the biggest welfare queen that's ever been in the US is a trillionaire. How can that be? But hey, that's just my opinion.
Girl, not welfare cream. But I know what you're talking about, and I know who you're talking about. You're absolutely right when it comes to that. But I have to go ahead and take a quick song break real quick. Y'all, I do apologize. It's just my son. I gotta get him. Y'all know how that is, having a little toddler. So let me just play a song real quick, y'all, and I'll be right back. Let me just get him straight. I really apologize.
The soul of humanity cries. A roof above, a shelter from the storm, a gentle hand to keep a spirit warm, a plate of food, a mind that's free to learn, a simple peace, a righteous wage to earn. That's right. These are the needs to bedrock and the base, the sacred ground of the whole human race. But the screen is screaming, selling something cheap, while the real world babies cry themselves to sleep. Can't ignore it. We are human, blood and bone and soul. Say it loud. With a right to be loved, the right to be loved, a right to be made whole. This is our slave. This is our sacred song. In the eyes of the Creator, this is where we all belong. We are human, worth more than they can price. Beyond the hateful whispers and the loaded yeah, they're painting pictures, twisted and unreal, teaching our children how they ought to feel. All that value's in the label on your shoes, or the filtered life you desperately choose. They magnify the hate, they celebrate the greed, and plant a poison, a suffocating weed. We gotta reach our children, pull them from the glow and show them a beauty that the media don't know. Let them know. No tech division, the mission of the television, spitting division, a mental prison. Got the youth chasing life's addicted to the feed, ignore the hunger, the fundamental need. Nigga love your vitals on the digital stage, putting the future artists in a ritual cage. Now they're gonna break the cycle, gotta cut the cord. The real world is powerful, mightier than the source. We teach them about their history, teach them about their grace, teach them about the power in every single face. Let's go. We are human, loud and blown and soul. Yeah, everyone got a right to be loved, got the right to be lived, a right to be made whole. This is our story. This is From the suburbs to the curb. Love is not a whisper, but a mighty thundering word. A word of action, breaking leather chain. A word of power, washing out the pain. It ain't a feeling, it's a verb. It's what you do for me, for them, for us, for you. 'Cause they just a track, just a call to action for every mother, father, every single fraction of the put unity, holding it down on the ground. Time to get loud, make a revolutionary sound. Look your child in the eye, tell her that they matter. Tell them they spirit something that don't lie and shatter. For the knowledge is the weapon, love is the shield, and the truth is the harvest. We gonna grow in this field, yeah. We are human. Oh yes, we are. Teach for children. Teach for truth. Reach where you let the rules see the fruit. See the fruit. We are human. A right to live. Right to live. Teach the truth. Reach where you let the rules see the fruit. We are human. Sing the song on this the soul of humanity cries. A roof above, a shelter from the storm, a gentle hand to keep a spirit warm, a plate of food, a mind that's free to learn, a simple peace, a righteous wage to earn. That's right. These are the needs to bedrock and the base, the sacred ground of the whole human race. But the screen is screaming, selling something cheap, while the real world babies cry themselves to sleep. Can't ignore it. We are human. Blood and bone and soul. Say it loud. With a right to be loved. The right to be loved. A right to be made whole. This is our slave. This is our sacred song. In the eyes of the creator. It's where we all belong. We are human. Worth more than they can price. Beyond the hateful whispers and the loaded yeah, they're painting pictures, twisted and unreal, teaching our children how they ought to feel. All that value is in the label on your shoes, or the filtered life you desperately choose. They magnify the hate, they celebrate the greed, and plant a poison to suffocate your weed. We gotta reach our children, pull them from the glow and show them a beauty that the media don't know. Let them know. No tech division, the mission of the television, spitting division, a mental prison. Got the youth chasing lights, addicted to the feed, ignore the hunger, the fundamental need. Nigga love your vitals on the digital stage, putting the future artists in the ritual page. Now they gotta break the cycle, gotta cut the cord. The real word is powerful, mightier than the source. We teach them about their history, teach them about their grace, teach them about the power in every single face. Let's go. We are human. Loud and bold and soul. Everyone got a right to be loved. Got the right to be loved. A right to be made whole. This is our story. This is our sacred song. In the eyes of the creator. Yeah, they all belong. We are human. Worth more than they can price. The other hateful whispers and the loaded gun. You will build a world where every voice is heard. Every single one, from the suburbs to the curb. Love is not a whisper, but a mighty thundering word. A word of action, breaking leather chain. A word of power, washing out the pain. It ain't a feeling, it's a verb. It's what you do for me, for them, for us, for you. mother, father, every single fraction of the unity, holding it down on the ground. Time to get loud, make a revolutionary sound. Look your child in the eye, I tell her that they mad. I tell them the spirit supplement, don't lie and shine. I tell them knowledge is the weapon, love is the shield, and the truth is the harvest. We gonna grow in this field, yeah. We are human. Oh yes, we are. Teach for children. Learn power. Teach for truth. Preach where you let the rules in the fruit. We are human. A right to live. Right to live. Teach the truth. Preach where you let the rules in the fruit. We are human. Single soul. On this
All right, y'all. So thanks for rocking with that quick little song break. Well, it wasn't really quick because I had to play it twice, child. I am so sorry. I had to get JJ Square away. But we're going to get right back into the video, y'all. After this segment right here, we're going to give a few more commentary on some of the things that's going to be reported on. And we have to move right along forward, y'all. So let's get right back into it. And I will see y'all in the chat. I'll be right back.
To Lula. In other news from Latin America, former Honduran President Juan Orlando Hernandez has returned to Honduras 8 months after receiving a pardon from President Trump. In 2024, Hernandez was sentenced to a 45-year prison term in the United States for taking part in what prosecutors described as, quote, one of the largest and most violent drug trafficking conspiracies in the world, unquote. Hernandez still faces corruption charges in Honduras, but an arrest warrant against him was recently canceled. His brother, Tony Hernandez, remains in prison in the United States. The Washington Post is reporting the Trump administration's campaign of blowing up boats in the Caribbean and Pacific has not reduced the amount of cocaine entering the United States. A previously unreported assessment by the Drug Enforcement Administration concludes the attacks have failed to affect the supply or price of cocaine in the United States. The U.S. boat strikes have killed at least 221 people since September. No evidence has been made public linking the boats to drug traffickers. Last week, Democratic Congressmember Chuy Garcia called for an independent investigation into the strikes, as well as the recent murder of the Ecuadorian prosecutor Alexandra Bravo, who was fatally shot along with her sister by a hitman on a motorcycle last month in the city of Manta. Dropsite News reports that at the time of her killing, she was investigating U.S. strikes on 3 Ecuadorian boats in which 36 passengers survived. Bravo was investigating claims by the survivors that they'd been abducted, then tortured by American gunmen in U.S. military uniforms aboard a U.S.-flagged patrol ship. In Chile, police say they've captured a man sentenced back in 2023 for the kidnapping and murder of folk singer and activist Victor Jara under the dictatorship of Augusto Pinochet. Nelson Haas was one of a group of military officers who was charged with Jara's murder. He fled from authorities after his sentence was announced and was captured over the weekend. Jara was a pacifist who supported the socialist President Salvador Allende and was tortured and shot 44 times 5 days after the coup brought Pinochet to power in 1973. Salvador Allende died in the palace on September 11th, 1973. To see more of our coverage about Victor Jara, go to democracynow.org. Kentucky's Republican Senator Mitch McConnell's office released a new photo of him since he first entered the hospital last month after a fall at his home. McConnell has missed 38 roll call votes in the Senate and has not done any media interviews since he was hospitalized. New York Democratic Congressmember Alexandra Ocasio-Cortez called on Senator McConnell to speak to the public or resign.
He can't give us an update. He should resign. Absolutely.
In addition to the one that he already did, the one he sent out about a week and a half ago.
I think it's been very clear to people across Kentucky that his update was not sufficient.
And a powerful 6.8 magnitude earthquake has hit southwest Japan, damaging buildings and highways. Many people are reportedly trapped inside a shopping center in the town of Kashima. And those are some of the headlines. This is Democracy Now!, democracynow.org, The War and Peace Report. I'm Amy Goodman. Thanks for watching Democracy Now! On YouTube. Subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications to make sure you never miss a video. And for more of our audience-supported journalism, go to democracynow.org, where you can download our news app, sign up for our newsletter, subscribe to the daily podcast, and so much more.
All right, y'all. So that is the end of that video and those global updates. Imani, do you have a few things that you want to add to that before I give a few of my final thoughts and then we move on to the next topic? I think you muted it back, girl.
Hello?
Okay. Yeah, I can hear you now. Is it all right? Your mic is good?
Hello?
Can you hear me? Okay. So she's having some mic issues, y'all. But that's okay. We'll get right back to it. But anyway, I had to go, with JJ, child. He was in there caught up. But anyway, so we've heard a lot of, reports and whatnot with Democracy Now!, which is why I love the platform. Because they don't just talk about what's going on in one country. They talk about a lot of things that's going on worldwide. And a lot of us don't always know that because we kind of just, hone into what is going on in our countries and the things that we're dealing with. But we have to understand we all are going through something. So, Imani, from those final reports that they had on Democracy Now!, what do you have to think, or say about some of these things? It's just people are really going through tough times.
Yeah, I mean, they were exploring some stuff on campaign finance, which has always been an issue, and the influence in the Michigan Senate race. And this really brings to light questions about lobbying and financial backing, which remain central issues in American politics. These discussions really should remind people that transparency and accountability are just recurring themes in all democratic societies. As I said, the UK system's not perfect, but it is a little bit more transparent than what's going on in the States. Then internationally, they're turning to Latin America, where there's issues about political accountability and historical justice and organized crime, which continues to shape a lot of their national debates. There were reports questioning the effectiveness of some of these DEA and anti-drug strategies and the coverage of investigations into alleged civilian deaths. It really does demonstrate the importance of independent oversight whenever governments just overstretch with their powers. But one particularly interesting thing was Chile's history with the arrest of a former military officer connected to the unaliving of Victor Jara. and this is decades after it happened. But overall, it paints a picture of a world where, this whole video is environmental, geopolitical tensions, and democratic institutions and human rights stuff is constantly intertwined. And also, we need to be reminded, whilst headlines are often moving quickly, the underlying issues that are problems stay the same. It's about accountability, it's about justice, it's about humanitarian issues and responsibility. And all these things require a continuous discussion and a continuous focus.
Absolutely, Monty. I agree. And, one of the things I just wanted to add to that before we go to, our next topic or whatnot, which we will be discussing another unfortunate situation that we do have to talk about and bring awareness to, such as many others are, in the reporting and political space. One of the things I think that is important for us to remember is that, we need to ensure that we don't aid in these attacks when it comes to media or daily discourse. So when discussing these issues publicly on streams or in community spaces, avoiding the traps that fuel xenophobia, anti-Black violence, it requires intentional framing. So number one, refuse to internalize or repeat dehumanizing tropes, right? The risk of that is amplifying sensational claims, stereotypes, or debunking absurdity in ways that keep the slander circulating. The shift on how we can change that is shift the focus entirely away from the sensational rumors and directly onto the human dignity, civil rights, and legal protections. Connect anti-immigrant policies to anti-Blackness. Xenophobia, which was one of the biggest ones that stood out to me, okay? Because I see how they have been treating the immigrants through this new system of ICE, and it's something I think is absolutely disgusting. But I think a lot of times we have to be careful what we say, how we feel, how we operate, because it adds to it. So when I say connect anti-immigrant policy to anti-Blackness, xenophobia does not exist in a vacuum. It targets specific racialized groups disproportionately. Recognizing that attacks on Haitian immigrants stem from the same historical roots as domestic anti-Black racism helps build solidarity across movements rather than allowing divides within the movement. We have to center the human impact over political theater. The risk of doing that, treating enforcement policies, border raids, or court rulings purely as political wins or losses for a said party, it's not going to work. How we could probably shift and do better, always highlight the human costs. Mothers, fathers, workers, children who are being destabilized. Highlight real community voices, legal experts, and organizers directly impacted on the ground. And reject the good versus bad when it comes to this whole talks around immigrants, race, and everything. Be careful not to measure human worth or right to safety solely because economic output or legal technicalities. Whether someone holds a specific visa status, a work permit, or is undocumented, basic human safety basic human safety from extreme violence is foundational human rights. So we have to make sure that we're not lending a hand into a lot of these things elevating higher and being worse than, what they could be. Not to say that they're not bad already, but let's just not pour fuel on the fire. And that's all I have to say on that segment. Imani, do you have any more thoughts before we move on to our next topic, which is, we got to talk about this. We're going to be getting into some updates when it comes to Nolan Wells.
No, the only thing I can say is well put. But please go over, subscribe to Democracy Now! They give great news. They have some great interviews over there, and they give a great global view on the world. So Democracy Now!, please subscribe to them.
Thank you, Imani. All right, so now we're going to get back into our next topic, y'all. And, it's a sad one. but we actually have two that are actually kind of mirroring each other. But right now, I know the one that is hot on the presses, unfortunately so, happens to be the talks around, the Nolan Wells case. And there has been some updates. And so today we're going to be listening to some content where, we hear a little bit from Judge Mathis, and he's breaking his silence, speaking on the autopsy findings following the tragic unaliving of 18-year-old Black high school swimmer Nolan Xavier Wells, after a 4th of July island outing off the Mississippi coast. Former judge and TV personality Judge Mathis did speak out about this publicly alongside civil rights attorney Ben Crump to demand a criminal investigation. And we know Ben Crump and a lot of others have come to the aid of the family of Nolan Wells to really get to the bottom of this case. Within the autopsy findings, an independent second autopsy performed by Dr. Roger Mitchell revealed a 12 by 8 inch focal area of red discoloration, which is deep soft tissue trauma and bruising on the back of Nolan's head over the occipital bone. There is some missing evidence. The second autopsy report noted that critical internal interior neck structures, including the hyoid bone and the laryngeal bone cartilages, were retained by the state medical examiner during the first examination and not provided for the second review, preventing a complete assessment of said neck trauma. Judge Mathis' statement emphasized that a strong swimmer with a distinct trauma behind the head and neck should never be written off as an accidental drowning, calling on prosecutors to pursue foul play investigations. We also have from Don Lemon, one of our favorites here on the platform, a panel conversation, basically speaking about an update that has came out with said audio of what possibly, was being discussed during that time. It's alleged. We can't be sure. This is what the public is putting out and giving us. And this has been on multiple platforms, right? And so, we will be, just going over a little bit of that, y'all, with y'all here today, because that is the most recent update. And we have to understand that, just because these things come out and whatnot, we still have to let things, play out the way they need to play, hopefully, and judicially the right way with, fairness. Why do we always have to talk about fairness? But, it is what it is. But anyway, we're going to go ahead and get into our first video here, y'all. Let me go ahead and get this popped up on the screen real quick. While I'm getting this set up, Imani, do you have anything you want to add or say about, like the Nolan Wells case? And in addition to that case, we also have some other things that we will be reporting on today as well. There is another young Black man named, Daniel Mike Irving, who also is no longer with us and came to his demise in a very similar predicament, all the way in a whole other area and a whole other experience. And so we'll be talking about that case as well. But before we get into the video, Imani, is there a few things you want to say?
No, I think we can just go with the interviews and I'll comment as we go along. I think this one is, how long is this one? It's about, we can do this in 2 parts. We'll stop it after about 5 minutes. Is that okay?
Yeah, this first one is only 9 minutes and 43 seconds. So you want to stop it?
We'll just split it. Yeah, we'll split it into, yeah.
We can stop at like the 4:30 mark.
Yeah, around about 4:35 is fine. Yeah.
All right, let's get into it, and we'll meet y'all in the chat.
Judge Mathis, happy to have you back, my man. So much I want to get into. Had to bring you back on to follow up on this Nolan Wells case, man.
Yes, thank you for having me.
Yes, indeed. So much to get into. I don't want to waste no time. I want to get right into it. How you feel about this second autopsy that was done on Nolan Wells?
Yes, I think when we last spoke, we were awaiting the forensic autopsy because the original autopsy performed by the county examiner, we just weren't convinced it would be independent, quite frankly, because we weren't getting enough information from law enforcement. And so the forensic autopsy came back. And lo and behold, even though they're trying to downplay it, and I understand Ben Crump and NAACP and others don't want to try and jump to conclusion or step too far out, but the forensic autopsy showed that there was what they call discoloration. No, I call them bruises in the back of the head, appearing that someone has had their hand pressed at the back of their head, at the back of Nolan's head. That's concerning to me. And so hopefully we'll get some more insight on that. I'm not sure. It seems like there's another opportunity for them to investigate something physiological. I'm just not sure, because as far as I knew, the forensic autopsy is as far as you go, but we'll see. But yeah, that's what causes new concern. And then you've had different stories coming out from the teenagers. One of the young men himself spoke out about it, claiming they had begged Nolan to get on the boat, and that he wouldn't. Then there's the woman that he's supposed to have stayed back with, I think her name Katie or something. Well, he was supposed to have stayed back with Katie. That was their story. However, Katie's friend says that Katie she saw him only in passing on the island, didn't stay with him, and Katie isn't saying anything at all. So it's a lot of moving parts here, and I'm just hoping it's not one of those quite frankly, and if his friends didn't have anything to do with it and they truly left him behind, et cetera, he has discoloration, bruises on the back of his neck. Something happened. And quite frankly, this is Mississippi, where in 1955, which sparked the civil rights movement, Emmett Till was killed for so-called whistling at a white woman. And now we're hearing Nolan Wells stayed back to be with a white woman, and he turns up dead with bruises behind his neck. That's the context I'm putting this in. It's Emmett Till, perhaps, all over.
Wow. So you feel like the dynamics between Nolan Wells and Emmett Till is similar?
Well, the dynamics are the same. He's with a white woman, or allegedly said something with, or however you view it, with a white woman, and there's a suspicion that white men killed him. And that was the case with Emmett Till. He so-called whistled as a kid. 13 was he? Whistled so-called the woman at the store. White woman says he whistled at her. What happened? White men killed him. And that's why I'm making that analogy. But it could altogether be untrue. But I'm making the analogy as a possibility. And that is the case of my thought processes.
So it was actually bruises behind his neck.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, what else? Why is it only there in the back of your neck, which is coincidentally how you drown somebody? You put the head in the back of the neck and not let them up, and they try and push up, but you got the head down, so the head bruises in the back of the neck because somebody tried to hold it down or did hold it down. I'm only presenting the facts, and I only made the analogy to Emmett Till because it's the same optics. However, do I know whether it's the same? Do I know any of the factors that I'm suggesting is accurate? No, but I am making observations about the facts as I see them. And then I am, yes, speculating. And quite frankly, in the law, you're not supposed to speculate. You're supposed to have hard facts. But in this case, since nobody's given us any hard facts, we can't get in the information that we need, then yes, we're left to only speculate.
His organs was missing during his autopsy, right?
Yeah, and they allege now that that's standard. I'm not sure about that, so I can't tell you. I don't know about autopsies in that sense. But they said one of his lungs and then parts of his throat, and I read that that's typical, but I just don't know. And I'm not one to try and find something that is not there. I mean, we have enough that's there that we don't have to go looking too further. Did they take the organs out? Did they do whatever with the throat? Well, that's down the line. What we do know, because we don't know why and the results and what that process is. Are they taking tissues from those organs and analyzing them for further evidence or insights, etc.? We don't know. What we do know is that he left and was left and drowned, and his buddies are not speaking, and the one that just spoke about it acted as if they pressured him to leave and he wouldn't. However, they left his phone. They have that. They don't present it to his mother as a average person would. Time I get back, he didn't come with us. He left his phone. I'm calling your parents. And I understand that they didn't even call him immediately after finding out that he had been drowned or that he had drowned. So that's certainly the time that you call and say, hey, I see he's drowned. I have his phone. No, they waited. And in fact, some of the information had been deleted from that phone that had been there. And put all those things together and the discoloration on the neck, and I'm convinced that someone did something wrong. Yes, I am.
If it was bruises behind his neck, yeah, that needs to be looked into. It sounds like he got into an altercation.
And they allege that there's.
All right, y'all, we're going to stop there for a quick commentary break. Imani, would you like to go first, or would you like me to go first? It is up to you, girl. I do have some additional information about autopsies and how they actually operate. And so I just wanted to add a little bit of that knowledge to the conversation. But you can go first, girl.
I'm in two minds about this interview. I think there's a lot that we don't know, even from the second autopsy. I don't understand why those things were missing, because even if you take tissue samples, and even if they took tissue samples, as far as I am concerned, even if they took out, even if they took the tissue samples, even if they removed certain particles, the test results of what they found when they removed those parts, be it the weight, because I know they take out certain things and they weigh them to see, because there's certain things that give rise to how you might have died, how much your heart may weigh, etc., how much water's in your lungs if you drowned, etc., etc. So I'm just not getting the neck tissue disappearing. And even if it was removed, there should be a result of what they found, what it looked like before they took it off, because they take photographs of the body before they start an autopsy. That is my understanding. In fact, my understanding was the whole thing used to be photographs, but in today's day and age, there's a lot of videos that are done, especially when it's a suspicious death. So I don't get why they wouldn't have a video or photographs of the body as it looked before they started making their incisions and removing their tissue samples. That's it for me. The other part about it is, I I do believe, and until we know more, I'm I'm at a loss as to why children who have known each other since childhood would suddenly become, you know, racist enemies. I believe that something untoward has happened. I believe that this is my opinion. I believe that these boys know what's happened, and there seems to be something unfortunate that's happened. And the worst part about it is the cover up. I don't know. And here's the way. And I'm not saying that this couldn't happen amongst a group of black friends, but let me tell you, when we go home, I mean, it depends on your parents, but if the key thing for me has always been the fact that they had the phone and the keys, and the phone and the keys would belie whether or not he was on that boat or not, because it's location. So if they say that he left it, then the story can be that he was left on the island. But if he happened to be on that boat, no one can be any the wiser. But the key thing that they did that I don't understand is they didn't go and tell his mother that he wasn't coming back, an 18-year-old that's their friend from childhood. They apparently just left him there, allegedly just left him there. So I'm not understanding how she has to find out that her son is missing by phoning around when they've come back with his keys and his phone. And why are there deleted things from the phone? Those are the things that concern me more. I don't think it's I firmly believe, I don't think it's what happened. I think it's the cover up and everything else that's happened after that. And that is my belief, that the problem is where the problem lies. That's just my opinion. But I'll leave it with you. Hello?
Yeah, I'm here. I was just
Yeah.
sitting, thinking because we've been watching this case very closely, and we've been seeing the updates, that come out as frequently as they come out. And so, I agree with you, like, as far as your, thoughts about this. Mine are in the same area a little bit. We just never know, right? We need to get to the bottom of this. But we know the facts, we know history, we know what it could possibly have been, but there's probably some things that may come out and we find that we're totally surprised because what we thought to be true may not be true. But what is, important, I think the most for me is, the evidence. And collecting that said evidence by doing the due diligence of your job based off of what that is. And so basically, if you are doing an autopsy, it is not a standard practice for organs or structures to be missing without documentation. But this does seem to be, in this case, a common point of conflict, right? Especially when a second autopsy is being requested. So during a standard first autopsy, all major organs, including the throat structures, such as the larynx, the hyoid, the bone, and the trachea, are removed and dissected and examined to determine the cause of unaliving. However, what happens to those organs after the first autopsy depends on heavily on whether additional testing is required. So I guess within a certain time frame, if a second autopsy was requested, then it would be the standard for those organs to be, placed back into the body and to be present for a second autopsy examination, right? Now, the standard practice for organs after autopsy in a typical forensic autopsy, once the medical examiner finishes dissecting and taking tissue samples, The primary internal organs are placed back inside the body cavity, often inside sometimes a plastic bag to prevent leakage before the body is stitched, closed, and released to the funeral home. However, the throat and neck structures, right? The laryngenoid complex are treated with special care. There's retention for specialized testing. If there's any suspicion of asphyxia, meaning strangulation or trauma, or airway obstruction, the pathologist will often retain the entire neck organ block. They hold on to the larynx and the hyoid bone to fix them in formalin before x-rays or send them to forensic anthropologists to inspect for microfractures. In medical school or hospital retentions and non-forensic hospital autopsies, tissue or specific organs may be retained for medical education and further pathology if consent was given. Remember, consent must be given. Disposal and delayed return. If retained, those parts are kept at the state lab or pathology office and may not be returned to the body before it goes to the mortuary, especially if the body is released quickly to the family. That's what they say. I can't be sure. Now, why a second autopsy might find missing structures. When a family requests a second independent autopsy, the private pathologist frequently encounters situations where certain organs, most commonly the brain, the heart, the neck organs, are not inside the body cavity. There is a chain of custody and documentation. It is a standard legal and medical procedure for the first pathologist to document every organ retained in the official autopsy report. Retaining the throat for further testing can sometimes be normal. Failing to document that is what, is kept or called retained as a breach of protocol. Impact on the second autopsy. If the throat structure was obtained or retained, by the state lab during the first examination, the second pathologist cannot re-examine the physical airway in person. In those cases, the second pathologist must request access to the preserved specimens, tissue slides, or photographs directly from the initial medical examiner's office. So if you're researching a case where a second autopsy is necessary and there are notes and missing organs such as the throat area, it typically means those structures were kept as evidence or specific samples by the original medical examiner, though the family or private pathologist is entitled to request the inventory logs to confirm where those tissues are being stored and gain access to them. So legally and medically, even if you did remove them for whatever set reason and try to jump through certain type of loopholes to say that, this is why you took it out, this is why you kept it out, this is why you're holding on to it. There are structures and procedures that are in place to where if they want to gain access to those organs for an additional autopsy and study, then they can get them released. So, there's that when it comes to that. But outside of that, it's just like, we all have our speculations at this point, just like Judge Mathis said, we don't have all of the details, but we do know history. We do know things was not sitting too right with us or looking too right with us. And, we can speculate. And the fact that law enforcement is, very hush hush and not necessarily wanting to reach out to reporters or really speak about, the entire incident within itself, I think it just sets a lot of red flags. What do you think, Imani?
Yeah, I think before we can really summarize this before we move on to the next stuff. He's less about delivering definitive answers and more about examining why so many questions still remain unanswered. He's talking about the release of his, obviously after the release of the independent forensic autopsy, and it's basically saying that he's referencing obviously bruising or discoloration on the back of Nolan's head and neck that raised concerns and deserve. What he's basically saying is everything deserves more investigation. There's too many whys here. But he's also acknowledging at the same time that these findings by themselves do not prove or establish exactly what happened, and many of his comments are his personal opinions and observations rather than proven facts. And that's what people have to remember. Everybody is giving opinions. There's no proven facts yet. But one thing he did focus on was that the public accounts that have been given by individuals that have been connected to Nolan's final hours, there's inconsistencies there. And he's stressing that investigators should thoroughly be examining every available lead before coming to any conclusion on the right or the wrong side of this. So it's really, he does bring the social context of Emmett Till into it, and he's very careful that he's not saying that the cases are identical. He's arguing that both cases involve racial dynamics that, in his view, cannot be ignored when examining the events involving a young black male in Mississippi. It's his view. It's not that he's saying that they're exactly the same. And he talks a lot about the difference between evidence and speculation, and he acknowledges, obviously, because he's Judge Mathis, that lawyers are trained to rely on facts, not assumption. But he's arguing that the limited information not being and things not being released publicly is allowing for too much speculation. So he says they need to tighten up that information flow and make it faster so that people are not pushed into speculating about things they don't know anything about because they haven't heard the actual evidence. So, and if you go and watch the rest of this, he really does talk about race and lived experience. But like I said, that's the first part that he's really talking about. I don't know.
Right.
Did I miss anything?
No, I absolutely agree. I absolutely agree. And now, we'll see there's going to be more, basically commentary that really actually, you'll see, because there's now audios and things that have been released next. Not just is it, about the autopsy, but there's audios now that people are, deciphering and trying to see if that can be an additional clue as to some things that have happened and went on based on this case. So that's going to be the next audio we're going to go ahead and play. But yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, I was going to say, because I think this is an important story. We may not get to do all the lovely Trump stuff today, but I really wanted to make sure that you play all that you needed to play on these two cases and get that stuff. I think we need to, if we play the rest of the audio of what Judge Mathis is saying, because he's making some really important points about race and lived experience. And I think that, I'm sorry to say, hard truths.
We can cut the Trump stuff out, girl. But the Trump stuff, child.
Yeah, well, I mean, we'll probably I think we should do I think this and Daniel Irving cases are very important. Maybe we'll do a couple of the Brian Tyler Cohen ones and then come back tomorrow and do some of the other stuff that's Trump-esque. If that's all right with you.
Any day. Because it's
I
think this is important. Yeah.
I suppose, yeah, I'd like to, I mean, if that's okay with you, because it is, I know it's early for you, but it is late for me. If we could do this Nolan Wells and this Daniel Irving stuff, because I think as the part one, and then the rest of it can trump out tomorrow. And I probably got some other political stuff that you probably want to talk
Trump
about
out.
tomorrow. Yeah,
Trump
no, but
out.
I mean, no, we can.
Mm-mm.
Yeah, I'd like to do this, and maybe a couple of Brian's videos, if that's all right.
Mm-mm.
Is that okay?
We can report on Trump stuff anytime. It never ends. It never ends. But this is important. These are updates and things.
Yeah,
And we have
yeah.
professionals that are speaking up, such as judges, medical professionals. You know, a lot of people under the sun are coming up to speak about this case. And so I think it's really important for us to hear
Yeah,
from the professionals.
yeah. I think this and the Daniel Irving stuff, and maybe the FIFA stuff, because the football's just finished, and then we can do a part 2 tomorrow, if that's
Okay.
okay.
Yeah, well, that sounds good to me. So
Okay,
let's
so
go ahead and get back into the video. I'm gonna put it back up here, y'all.
yeah,
And we'll listen to the rest of it from Judge Mathis, because he is making a lot of great points, and we have to remember he's a judge, so he understands how to judge these type of cases and the evidence and all of the facts that are necessary to be included within a case such as this. And so, yeah, let's get back into it.
Is accurate? No, but I am making observations about the facts as I see them. And then I am, yes, speculating. And quite frankly, in the law, you're not supposed to speculate. You're supposed to have hard facts. But in this case, since nobody's given us any hard facts, we can't get in the information that we need, then yes, we're left to only speculate.
His organs was missing during his autopsy, right?
Yeah, and they allege now that that's standard. I'm not sure about that, so I can't tell you. I don't know about autopsies in that sense. But they said one of his lungs, and then parts of his throat, and I read that that's typical, but I just don't know. And I'm not one to try and find something that is not there. I mean, we have enough that's there that we don't have to go looking too further. Did they take the organs out? Did they do whatever with the throat? Well, that's down the line. What we do know, because we don't know why and results and what that process is. Are they taking tissues from those organs and analyzing them for further evidence or insights, etc.? We don't know. What we do know is that he left and was left and drowned, and his buddies are not speaking, and the one that just spoke about it acted as if they pressured him to leave, and he wouldn't. However, they left his phone. They have that. They don't present it to his mother as a average person would. Time I get back, he didn't come with us. He left his phone. I'm calling your parents. And I understand that they didn't even call him immediately after finding out that he had been drowned, or that he had drowned. So that's certainly the time that you call and say, hey, I see he's drowned. I have his phone. No, they waited. And in fact, some of the information had been deleted from that phone that had been there. And put all those things together, and the discoloration on the neck, and I'm convinced that someone did something wrong. Yes, I am.
If it was bruises behind his neck, yeah, that needs to be looked into. It sounds like he got into an altercation.
And they allege that there's video of him getting into an altercation. I'm not sure if I've seen it or not. I've been paying close attention, but either I've heard or seen that he was involved in an altercation there. And who knows what that altercation is about? Once again, see, brothers young Black boys being raised in upper income white communities, nearly exclusively white, 95%. In many instances, your friends don't feel about you as you may feel about them. There is a racial barrier that exists and will always exist, and your realities are always going to be different, and you're always going to be looked at by your white friends differently. And so to that extent, he may not have understood that to be the case. He may have had trust for those he shouldn't have. He may have had a particular mindset that wasn't quite as rational as it should be when you're growing up in that environment. Sometimes you're irrational and you think you can do the same things they do and get away with it. No, you can't. Your Black behind will go to jail and they'll go to counseling.
All right, y'all. So that's the conclusion to that little clip of the conversation with Judge Mathis, and it was an entire interview, a long interview, but I just want to play that clip where they did bring up a little bit of conversation around Nolan Wells. There is another clip where they were talking a little bit more about it as well. We may play that on another live. I'm just trying to get through all of the content right here, y'all. Imani will be right back. She just had to take a quick break to take a phone call, so she'll be back in just a moment. But as far as the Nolan Wells case, I know it's a lot of speculation around it. There are people that feel one way, there are people that feel another way. It's all over the place. And I think that's unfortunate for cases and situations like that to be all over the place, where I feel as though it should just be a very quick open and shut. But we know that sometimes the law does not play out that way. And so all I am hoping for and praying for is for the truth to be seen, for the truth to come out, and for justice to be served. And if there was any foul play when it comes to this young man no longer being with us, I think that anyone who is responsible should be held responsible. And I hope justice is served. And, the legal system does its job properly, despite the color or the race of the young man. If it wasn't any foul play and it was just an accident or something like that, then if that comes out, then that needs to be dealt with and discussed accordingly as well. Because we know sometimes accidents happen, but we also know a lot of times things happen purposely because of the hate and the disdain that people have sometimes for one another. And we know race is one of the biggest ones, and it's unfortunate. And so this is why on my platform, my channel, you see that we talk about politics. You see that we talk about history. You see we talk about Black history. And we do have, a lot of passion when it comes to talking about that, because these are things that actually have existed in the past. And sometimes as we pay attention to how things are going down in current day time, they seem to be repeating themselves. And it continues to happen. And there is a lot of, hate, evil, demonic spirit. But a lot of times it seems to be, race divide that's behind it. And we can't say that's all of the people from a certain race. It's just some. And so we don't know why these people do the things that they do. Only they know, right? A lot of time you can try to chop it up to be, okay, that person just did it because they're hateful and they're an evil person and they didn't like that person and they wanted to do something to hurt and harm them. Does that mean that they, don't like a whole entire race of people? Absolutely, that can be true. I do think it's unfortunate that, we keep seeing these type of things happening with these type of racial divides and discretions or whatnot. And I think that's what makes it hard for a lot of people and puts people, like in a place of defense mode when it comes to like really connecting and trusting one another within our different races. Because our history shows that there has been predominantly a certain race that has gone out of its way in many ways to be terrible and to be nasty and to think that they're superior and to hurt and harm other races of people, specifically the Black race. And that's just something that's just not going to go away. And I know a lot of people want it to go away. And we're trying to navigate in a space where we don't forget that, right? Because we can't throw away the memories and the struggles of our ancestors and everything that they went through. But to move forward, we can't always drag it along with us everywhere that we go. And so I think that we're in a very middle zone where we're trying to figure out, how to calculate the two. And it doesn't make it easier when we start seeing current day situations happening that have too much resemblance to things that happened historically in the past to our ancestors. And, the racial context that comes with it. And so I think that's what makes a lot of what's going on very tense. It's making people very tense, putting people on edge. It's making people very standoffish. It's making people very weary. And I get it. I fully get it and understand it. I know exactly why. Because we know that these things have happened historically in the past because of racial discretions. Can we be sure that this case has a racial discretion at the core of it? We can't be sure about that. We need all of the evidence. We need to be able to see everything. And so, that's it, y'all. But I ain't gonna, chit chat too much. We got to get to the next video. Like I said, Imani had to take a call. She'll be back. So let's go ahead and get to this next one. Again, there's another update because now there's an audio that came out. And some people believe that the audio could be possibly, leading or giving more evidence into the case. Some people are saying, with the way, AI and technology and stuff is set up now, they can't be sure if they're buying it. So, it's like, it's on the fence. But let's go ahead and listen to this, y'all. This is coming from Don Lemon's platform, and he had a great panel conversation with a few regulars. And he also had Funky Daniva over on here. And Funky Daniva is someone that I had watched before. And despite the fact that when he get upset and he get mad and he cut up, outside of that, Funky Daniva is very intelligent. He's very smart. And so, they're having an excellent conversation around this with this new evidence that's come out with this audio. So let's go ahead and listen to a bit of their conversation together, y'all. If you want to chat with me about it, you can meet me in the chat. If you just want to lay back in the cut and listen, that is fine too. Let's go ahead and get into it.
So here is the video that you mentioned. You said it was on Nancy's show. Now, I would take it that they enhanced, but from the original audio engineer who enhanced it, she said she did not use AI techniques. She used minimal because she wanted it to be as minimally touched as possible. And this is the one that Daniva's talking about. Listen.
Detail assistance, Vicky speaking. How can I help you?
Hey, we're at the west tip of Horn, and
Okay, so
our bilge
the
pump
rest is,
stopped
the call. The bilge pump is going out. All right, so that one is okay. So who should go first? Reese going.
Well, there's so much disinformation and misinformation that spreads. There's so much unsourced material. So when I did see the audio engineer who worked on that video, I felt a lot more comfortable reacting to it because I saw it being sourced as from the Mississippi department, which it wasn't. It was enhanced audio. So I think that if you take the credibility of the woman and explain her process as she explained, she's an award-winning audio producer, audio engineer, then I think that you have to really seriously take this as evidence that perhaps foul play was involved. It didn't say exactly how something may have happened to Nolan, but it certainly seems that he was on that boat, if you believe that audio. And so it's incredibly disturbing, but it does paint a picture into something may have happened. I mean, the words cover up were specifically used in that. And so I hope that you know, that the authorities are looking at this. There's a grand jury, and I hope that we get some answers.
Clay?
Well, first and foremost, Daniel, I hope you did your Tina Marie research. I sent you Tina Marie link, so I'm hoping that you did. Hope you did your research now so we can make a reference.
Seeing you two this weekend.
Okay, I hope you did your Tina. I had to give him a little bit of homework. You know how I feel about that. Let me say this. To Daniel's point earlier, that, and I'm paraphrasing here, you said it a few minutes ago, that you said focusing on the friends or the kids who were there, you were saying that's more so a distraction and we have to focus on the evidence. Do I have that right? Is that what you said, more or less? Okay.
And the investigation and the investigators. Yeah.
Gotcha. But I disagree with that. We got to focus on the friends. We got to focus on the people who were there. That is the heart of the evidence. That is the heart of any true crime series. Who are the people who were there? What's happening? What is this cover up? I mean, it reminds me of when Trayvon Martin was killed. I remember the audio came out of his shooting, and people were trying to decipher everything, and he was on the phone with one of his friends. Yep. I mean, they grilled her. I mean, we heard bizarre audio with George Zimmerman. I mean, from what I heard, I want to see a deeper investigation. Is an arrest possible? I don't know. But the idea that we're going to put the people who may have saw him last when he was alive to put that on the back burner, I don't think that's a good idea, brother. I don't think it is. Now, I understand what you're saying. We can't jump the gun. I'm not doing that. But from what I heard in the audio, I ain't jumping guns. The gun is pretty loud. Yeah. So I just want to be clear that the last people who saw him alive, they have the answers. And I want to see a proper investigation. And here we are again, where once again, people who are not a part of the investigation, and maybe there are things that have come up on the low that we don't know about. Fair enough. You know, we're not right there every millisecond. But here we are again, people who are not even part of the investigation, revealing information that it appears, could be wrong, that the folks in Mississippi have not figured out. And this goes to the heart of Black journalism, Black media. We're going to figure it out. So I want to really lean into this whole idea that focusing on the kids is the wrong angle. I mean, they're going up there pop dipping and spinning with that guy, freaking officer, whatever, doing interviews, going to the scene where he was last alive, going there. They are the very heart of this investigation, of what happened. I mean, have they been, maybe I missed it in all the news. Have they been interrogated? Have they been, I've seen people brought in on lesser accusations. So not only is it the lack of transparency, it appears, I could be wrong, protection. And that's frustrating.
But can I add on to that point? This isn't a persecution. It's an investigation. In the investigation, you turn over every corner. And that's what is happening. And it seems like the more thorough investigating is happening with half of the information, with the external information. And these guys are putting themselves on Front Street. If you don't want to be part of the story, don't be part of the fucking story. What are you doing on Brandon Tatum's show?
Lord,
you lawyered up immediately, which was actually smart to do. And I've said it before, I'll say it again. I want Black people to lawyer up quickly too. Okay, even if it's your friend, if it's your cousin, if it's whoever the fuck, because y'all get thrown in jail for shit you didn't do all the time because you don't lawyer up. So I ain't even got a problem with the fact that they lawyered up, but then they went from lawyering up to now you kicking it and kicking on podcasts and shit. You wanted to be part of the story. Let's go. All right, now let's talk about this audio. What happened? Tell us. So that if you were on record publicly, like you appear to want to be, and shoot, they might be MAGA influenced after all this, which is the messed up part about it. Then let's go. Let's have this conversation. You don't get to have it both ways. You don't get to say, no, they're just kids. They shouldn't be in it. They put themselves in it the second that homeboy sat down with Brandon Tatum. So now let's go. Let's do this.
And Reese, I also want to do in any investigation. I'm sorry, Daniel, 30 seconds. Okay. The facts are what you see, but you also have to investigate what you don't see. And what you don't see when that young man does that interview, I think his name is Wyatt, what you don't see is tears. What you don't see is somebody being overcome with emotion. What you don't see is somebody choked up. If I proclaim this boy to be my best friend and he has died.
Extreme trigger warning, right? Because we know there's been a loss. But I'm sorry, yo. And this is why I used to watch Funky Dineva. I know, whatever. Who cares? Okay. Funky Dineva can do the messy stuff, but at the core, Funky Dineva is very professional and very intelligent. And I'm sorry, I was just having this conversation with my boyfriend the other day. And this is literally what he is saying, is literally the conversation we was having. And it's not to say we're trying to take away from the severity of the case. It's not saying that we don't believe that, anything, whatever it is that they're trying to paint it out to be. What I'm saying is, and there's been multiple things for me that just, it don't add up for me, right? I just talked about this earlier as well. I'm like, yo, this the tea right here. If I'm on a boat trip or I'm on an island somewhere with my homies, right? My homegirls, right? Say I'm there with, and I consider Imani to be my homegirl at this point. But, I got homegirls and stuff, from the Brick City or whatever, where I'm from, whatever. I'm on a boat trip with my homegirls and stuff like that. It's like, once that I realized that this has happened to my homegirl and she no longer with me, and I know that I'm not the reason for it. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's a loss to me at this point. My heart is broken. I'm sad. I'm distressed, right? I just feel like sometimes when you're distressed about losing a friend, a family member, or losing anyone, is sometimes there's a bigger level of distress that comes with that, and sadness that comes with that. And I don't want to judge, but I just haven't been seeing the sadness. Like, I haven't been seeing like, yo, I just lost my best friend and, I'm in tears, I'm sad, I want to tell everything that I know because I want justice to be served because this is my friend and I don't want my friend to go out like this, like whatever. And whoever did this to my friend, yeah, they're going down because you don't get to do that to my friend and I no longer have my friend and that breaks my heart. And yeah, I'm going to do whatever I can to cooperate because I just lost my best friend. If y'all tight like that, then I'm not understanding. Like, you don't have nothing to say, nothing to add. Like, that's weird to me. Like, it's very weird to me. And, I can't be sure what other people are going to decide to do when they're in a crisis or panic mode. But I'm saying, if this is your day one, the mother said that these little boys basically was friends since toddler age. Like, they've been around each other that long. Like, they were Sandlot kids. That's your homeboy. And he's gone. He's not here no more. You had so many experiences and so many encounters with him. And now he's not here. And now it's like, you don't got what is going on? To me, that's weird. And I don't want to put no, responsibility or, say that I'm accusing these boys or whatnot of anything. It's just the emotions for me are not adding up. Like, there's not enough, level of, severity. Like, and then all of it is weird. The entire case is weird from beginning to end is weird. Nothing is adding up and making sense. Even if the boy did say he wanted to stay behind because he was chasing a girl down at the cabana and y'all had his phone and his keys on the boat and he forgot to take his phone and his keys with him and y'all get back to the neighborhood where y'all live at and he stayed, wouldn't you take his phone and his keys to his parents and be like, hey, he ain't want to come, but he left his phone and his keys. Like, he's still over there on the island. Then they probably would be like, all right, we'll go down there and get him. You know what I'm saying? Or we'll find a way to contact him and get him on and see what the heck he's doing. The phone and the keys. And think about it. What teenager, even what adult in this current day of time is, going anywhere without their cell phone? You're not going. If you're staying on an island, you don't, what I'm saying? You need your phone. If you need to call for the next transport to get up off this mofo, you need your phone to do that, right? So you're not going to leave your phone behind. You're not going to leave your house keys behind. Like, And I'm pretty sure they saying this guy is very smart. He's very articulate. He's a scholar. He plays sports. He had a bright future ahead of him. He's not going to forget to take his phone and his keys. I'm sorry. Like, sometimes things can be complicated, but sometimes things can be very simple at the same time. Something's not right with it. How he didn't take his phone and his keys. Now, because he didn't have his phone and his keys, I'm not saying that his friends are the ones that did anything to him. I think that things went down and it got real shaky and it got real scary. And I feel like everybody was like, yo, we don't know what to say or what to do because this is crazy. We never experienced nothing like this. And we can't be caught in any type of, situation like this because we got a scholarship to this college and we got this type of opportunity and we're scared. We don't know what to do. Can they be scared and not know what to do? Yeah. Because young people are like that. Sometimes they get into a panic when serious things happen because we're talking about these kids, and from what they've basically been reporting to us, these are privileged kids. Privileged kids are very sheltered. They don't know how to survive through certain situations. Like, they don't know how to go through the brinks of, heats and heaviness. When you growing up like in poverty or you growing up in the streets in the ghetto, and you got to navigate through things and learn how to do that at a very young age, you're very equipped to deal with like traumatic situations and things of this nature. If these kids are all privileged kids, look at these dogs. Hold on real quick. My bad. I had to get the dogs in the cage. But yeah, so it's just like when you grow up very privileged, you grow up kind of shielded from life and like, hard situations. And so could they possibly be in a panic and not know what to say, not know what to do, like be freaking the heck out and a lot of time privileged kids, they only worry about self. Like, you got you a scholarship, you got you this great opportunity and future coming up, or this internship at your family job, or some of these kids, they said that their parents was judges, lawyers, things of that nature, high prestige people. Think about Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, right? If these are kids that grown up like kids from the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, look how they had to do, right? Just when they wanted to go out and have some fun, everything that they were doing while having fun as a youth and a teenager would reflect on Philip, right? The father, because of the prestige position that he held as a judge. Some of these children, parents is judges. So it's like they're scared. They don't know what to do. It may not necessarily mean that they are guilty of doing something wrong. It's just this situation ended up terrible and they don't know what to do because they know, and this already has started. The case is out. Their names are involved and attached. And that's going to tie back to their parents. And when they're in these like prestige, upper echelon families and stuff like that, they're scared to make one mistake. And their parents school them that way. They're like, when you go out here, you represent us. You represent the name. You represent the family. So you can't be out here drinking.
Can I just interrupt your beautiful flow because I think there's you see, this is the whole thing about speculation. The whole thing about speculation is we don't know. And the one thing that we don't know if any one of those kids has ever faced an unaliving of anybody and how it impacted them. And I don't think it matters where you're born in the station in life. It's what your experiences are. If you have never been in a situation where someone may have accidentally been unalived, you don't know how you're going to react. And it's only when we face those things for the first time, we know how we feel. So I can't say that it is because of privilege. I can say that I can speculate on maybe have an opinion that if there is covering up, that it might be due to the status and the parents and other people getting involved, but we still don't know. We still don't know who did what when. I don't know whose idea it was to let Officer Tatum interview their child, but hey, that's another story. But we can't be sure of who did what, who's experienced what, and how it impacted them, because it may be that one of them may have had a situation that is similar to this when they were young in their family, and had a reaction. We can't be sure on anything. We can't be sure if those boys did anything. We can't be sure if their parents did anything. We can speculate about them having money, but so was Nolan privileged, because those were his friends. He wasn't. They weren't more.
He's Carlton.
He was. You see, that's why I don't compare him to Fresh Prince, because he was a privileged child and he grew up with these children. I'm just saying that. Sorry?
Carlton.
No, what I'm actually saying is, but see, this is why I don't keep on comparing it to fictional characters of television, because it's a real life situation. Nobody knows. What I'm trying to say is, even if you are from a ghetto and you may have certain experiences, there are many people in the ghetto that see unalivings, and there are many that don't, and then there are many that see things happen to people that are close to them. How you react is how what happens when you're faced with that situation. So I don't know that anybody from any walk of life, if it would be like, for example, can you imagine if I remember when we used to when we were younger, we used to play in places that were abandoned, for example, where they would be considered condemned nowadays, playing in places where you're not supposed to play. And imagine when we were climbing all over these places, if one of us had fallen, yeah, accidentally, because we were playing a dare game, and someone had fallen and accidentally been unalived, what would we have done? We just don't know. Especially if you were the person that was maybe play fighting with that person at the time. And there have been instances in those sort of situations. We just don't know. And that's why I was just saying it's down to the institution that's investigating this matter to bring forth information faster, so they don't give people the reason to speculate like this, and bring forth the tissue samples that they took and everything, and release their results of their autopsy, because they haven't released their autopsy results, have they? The official ones, I'm saying.
The ones from the first autopsy,
Yeah.
or the one from the private autopsy? No, the first
From the first
autopsy is
one.
out. Yeah, the first autopsy is out. They already posted that. And that's
What did
the
they
reason
say about the first one?
there's some content on that. You want me to pull it up?
No,
Or you
no,
want to do
no.
that on the live?
I will do that on another live. But you know what it is? It really is the
Well, I mean,
investigative.
that's how they found out that he had the traumas to the neck area and the back of the nape area, right? Within
I
those
thought that
zones.
was on the private one, the second one.
No, that was on the first one. On the private one, they did a few more, if I'm not mistaken, because if I'm mistaken, I don't want to tell nobody any lies or anything. But yeah, they did find out that he had those traumas, but there were things removed.
It's
They weren't available
interesting.
for the second autopsy, right? So it's just like, what are we supposed to take from that?
Yeah, because I think, the big key questions were, what's the actual cause? It
Is it
says,
actual cause?
hold on. it says the official state autopsy has
That
not
he drowned.
publicly released a final cause and manner of death. Uh, uh, and the family's autopsy concluded that both the cause and manner of death were undetermined pending further investigation. You know, the second question is, how did he end up alone on Horn Island? And his family
Right.
saying they don't believe he voluntarily stayed behind when the others left. Whether he became
Ever
separated
seen anyone
intentionally.
drown before? I would hope not, right? You never seen
Yeah, they
nobody.
said whether he became separated intentionally, accidentally, or under some other circumstances remains unresolved. And then what happened during his final hours? When was he last seen? Who was with him? His movements before he disappeared. And when did the others realize he was missing? You know, there's no public timeline accounting for all these things. I mean, these are serious questions. And what does his phone show? Why is his phone left behind? What data is on it? What messages?
Well,
Or
we have to remember
photographs?
and add into this as well, you know, and again, this is all speculation, but add into this as well. Number one, okay, this is what has been said. He stayed behind on an island with a girl, a female. The female said, no, he didn't stay with me. He left with his friends. When he left with his friends on the said boat, what happened after that boat sailed off? That boat, in some type of way, took some type of damages or something, and it started taking on water. So that means there's a decent amount of water within the boat, and they have to call now for, you know, aid and services or whatnot to help the boat that could possibly sink because it's taking on water due to something went out on it, something about the motor, something about propellers, something like that was on the boat that, you know, basically gave out, and now the boat is taking on water. The boat is flooding, right? So if a boat is flooding and these kids, let's just say, and this is speculation only, get into some type of, you know, altercation, and there is water in the boat, and they want to do whatever it is they want to do, there's water now in the boat to do it, right? So now there's marks behind the neck as if the person was purposely being drowned by somebody. Like, have you ever seen somebody being drowned? You hold the back of their neck and their head and you push them down in the water to where they cannot
Trigger
breathe.
warning, trigger warning,
Yeah.
trigger warning, trigger warning, trigger warning. We don't want to
Very
show
much
people how
trigger
to.
warning, you know, trigger warning, y'all. But come on, we know that these things
No, but I
happen.
don't think we need to be talking about how they drown people.
But that's what happens. We've seen it. I
Yeah,
mean,
I
I
know
got
that
photos.
does. I know it
You know,
does. I know it does, but it is quite a sensitive subject,
could that
especially if
be a
people
thing?
have.
Could he have been on that boat while that boat was taking on
But that's
water?
why I said that
Under the
everything
boat,
is.
got into
But
an
the thing
altercation.
is,
We can't be
everything
sure.
is
We don't know.
everything is speculation until they really do, you know, talk to all the parties involved. But you know, like I said, we can't be sure until we know. You know,
Gotta
there's
move
more of an
forward, y'all.
investigation.
We gotta move forward. So, y'all, as if we didn't think that these things happen. I know we listened to a little bit of conversation over here on the Don Lemon Show, but we don't want to hold y'all for too long. So we'll come back with a part 2 and we'll listen to more. But I also want y'all to listen to some cases as well. Another case that is very similar.
How
But
much
there
did
was
you pay
another
it? Sorry, because I missed quite a bit of what you played. How much did you pay of the Don Lemon
about
stuff?
half.
About
About
half of
half.
it. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So the next one I'm gonna go ahead and pop up for you all is a very similar case of yet another,
We
you
can
know,
listen
black.
to the other half if you want to. I'm fine.
Well, they was just having a, you know, do you want to listen to that? They was having a panel discussion. They all have their own different thoughts and feelings about it. We can listen to it if you want to.
No. Go move on to Daniel Irving. That's fine.
Hold on. Because I just didn't want to hold you up too long because I know it's later there for you than it is for me.
Yeah, I suppose if we do the Daniel Irving and then we can come back and do the rest of the stuff on the part 2, if that's all right with you.
Yeah, we can do a part 2 for sure.
Yeah, let's do that. Let's finish up on with the Daniel Irvin, the whole stuff, because yeah, the rest of it was a panel discussion. So if we do the 2 videos we got on Daniel Irvin, that'd be great.
Okay. Let me go ahead and get this up real quick. Give me just a sec, y'all. I'm gonna give it just this daggone string guards. Oh,
And then we can probably put him in the description and Nolan Wells. And then the rest of the stuff we can do tomorrow. I've got some interesting stuff for you actually for tomorrow as well.
it's a shame, that these things are happening, and it's just for me, I don't know. It's like I do believe in, let the truth be the truth and what it is. Like, don't assume what it is if you don't have all the evidence and the facts. But it just seems like it's too much of coincidence here. Like a lot of these things are being seen to be funny, and I don't like it. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I don't know how you feel about it. I don't know how anybody else feels about it. But even when we were just playing the audio or whatnot,
I just
yeah,
think they
go ahead.
gotta, what I think they gotta answer the questions that, the that the people, the family want to know. The phone evidence, what were the messages or photographs can be put back to help reconstruct events. Did anybody witness anything important that hasn't been disclosed? Because there was hundreds of young people reportedly at that July 4th gathering on Horn Island. I can't believe there isn't some evidence somewhere. When they get all the phones and they put all the evidence together, because if he stayed there, he should be somewhere on some camera, somewhere, you know, you know,
Everybody's filming everything in their bikinis and their swimsuits, and they out there having a good time as teenagers and young people. Everybody got a cell phone. Everybody want to go viral. Everybody's recording. So you're hearing something, you're seeing something. It's gonna be caught on some type of device somewhere. And with that audio, that's basically what they're saying. They, we're trying to break down their audio because that is something that was recorded and it could allude to what was going on. But I mean, just
yeah.
because they got into an altercation doesn't mean that's what had to lead to his demise. I mean, teenagers get into altercations. We can't be sure. But if they're saying things like, "Oh my God, is he, no longer with us? Oh my God," but
But also,
concerned about that, then why would
I
you
mean,
ask
but
that? Like, you must be seeing that he's in a predicament where he looks like he's no longer living. So if that's what you're
but
saying, whoever it is saying that, why? How did that happen? Why are you saying that?
there's other things in this investigation that, people normally by now, people would have been hauled over the carpet and asked questions about, the timeline of the search, the jurisdiction, the coordination, whether there could have been faster responses. They're normally going through this sort of stuff with a forensic fine tooth comb, and these issues have all been publicly discussed, but these issues have been publicly discussed, but not actually, conclusively resolved. And, it's like, you know, the district attorney, what is he doing? He's indicated that evidence will be presented to a grand jury once investigators complete their work. Well, when are the investigators going to complete their work? How long is it going to take? Why aren't you giving regular updates? You know, it doesn't mean that a crime has been committed, but a grand jury review can determine whether criminal charges are warranted. Is there any toxicology reports? Is there any, forensic testing and toxicology and other stuff that can provide answers? And, are they going to
Right.
give the family the transparency that they want?
Right.
you know,
And
a
that's
thorough
that's a
investigation.
good point that you brought up. And
Yeah.
there's certain things that, you know, I just feel like on one side is being withheld to make it look one way, and I think there's things on the other side that's being withheld to make it look another way. Because if it comes down to the toxicology report, I know they pretty much gonna see that that young man probably had alcohol in his system, because he was on the video and on the live, they were drinking alcohol. So
Oh
if we
no,
don't
they
even
got to
have
show the
that,
test. The problem is you got to show the tissue and the test.
why not show that? Why not show that? Why withhold that? That all needs to be included. You know what I'm saying? And so, you know, that can be, you know, it can allude to maybe how some accident may have happened, or somebody might
Well,
not have
that's
been in their right
probably
mind. Release it all.
that, but that's probably why it's not being released, because when they don't have definitive levels, it's much harder to try and pinpoint it as something that it may not be, because you know there are many that it's where what they're finding, or the combination of things that they may be finding. So you know that's what the interesting thing is, that they haven't received that, they haven't released those. And that's why the parents really want, all the parents want is transparency, a thorough investigation, and a complete disclosure of the evidence they've got, and answers. That's all they want, is answers, because they're the ones
But
who have suffered this horrific loss.
you know, I'm not even gonna lie. I gotta be honest, because you know how I am. This is a very unfortunate case. I hope we can get the bottom of it and justice can be served. But when I was talking to Carlos about this the other night, I said it really puzzled me. Why is this case such high profile, right? Because we had the Trayvon Martins, we had the Breonna Taylors, we had the George Floyds, we had the Sonia Massey's. I didn't see any of those cases get this level of, you know, importance. I didn't see celebrities popping out to, you know, throw their bank accounts out there at the case for justice. Doesn't everybody deserve justice? And for me, it's like it's everywhere. Everywhere, everybody's talking about it, everybody's speculating about it. It just seems like, what is going on with this case when we know that there's
Well,
clearly
I
injustice
think
for black people, but and
I
especially black
think that
youth. There's been a lot of
I
black
know,
youth, and we're
but
about to
I
do
tell you
another
what
one.
happens
One that
though.
we're about
I
to
mean,
get into, I don't see no celebrities throwing no money to figure out what happened to
no,
him. So why
no,
is it
but the
this one?
point is, I tell you what happens though. Don't you think that at certain times, um, at certain times, there are certain incidents that create that situation where everybody sits up and takes note. So if you think about George Floyd, if you think about Rodney King, there are, and it happens to be at certain political times in the political sphere when things are really going on. Funnily enough, these two things happened in Trump's
That's
time.
what I'm saying, girl. We on the same
What I'm
page.
saying is the
That's what I'm
specific
saying.
the political atmosphere around these situations makes them become more highlighted, makes them become more of a focus. It's not that any of the ones were any more or less important. It
So
just
don't that
happens to
seem
be.
like to you that it's orchestrated?
No,
Because
absolutely
why when
not. Please, oh, please don't say
why
that.
when all
Please
of
don't.
those injustices was happening to other people, despite
No,
who was
of
in
course
office
it's.
and president, why didn't it
I
get that
just
much
think
attention? Why
no,
wasn't
no,
celebrities throwing money on it?
because
Why wasn't Al Sharpton telling
mm,
people if
I
anybody
think we
got
need to
information,
stop
you can
that,
go pay
because
people?
I just think it just happens to be
I'm just
timing.
asking
I think
questions. I'm not
I don't, no, I
aloof.
think it just happens to be in the timing, and I think that this is about a young man who has died, and I just don't really want to
Absolutely.
go down that
At the
road.
core of
I
this
don't
was
really want to
most
go down the road with
all
that
the
focus
rest
at
of
this
his
time.
lives.
So where are we going with? I don't really want to, honestly.
Listen to some
It's not.
more of Don Lemon, in the panel about the
No,
audio.
no. I thought you were doing the George Irving. Weren't you doing the George Irving?
Wanted to play the rest of the Don Lemon,
No,
or you want to go on to the next one?
I don't know. I don't know. Maybe just play the Don Lemon.
Just a little bit more, and then we'll move on to the next one. Not much more, but we're not going to play it all, but we'll just play a little bit more. But Funky Daniva, that's one of the things I was saying on my live is that I've watched this platform before or whatnot and been over there. And, I know sometimes, Funky can be funky and he'll get to his other side, but he's very intelligent and very smart. And I think, and I like to see the growth that, he has made over the years and whatnot with his content and his platform and all of those things. But I always thought he was very intelligent. And that's why I like to listen to him. Because I know every now and then he can get messy, but when he's not messy, he's really smart. So he weighs in a little bit on this as well. And, I can't even lie that, a lot of things that he's saying, I get where he's coming from because I've had this conversation with Carlos. And it's not to say that this is a game that any of us should be playing, the guessing game. Like, what is it and what is it not? No. At the end of the day, a young Black teenager is no longer with us. He had a promising future, and that's unfortunate. And we want that young man to rest in peace, and we want him to get proper justice based off of what has happened to him and the experience as to why he ended up that way. That's at the core of it all, right? So all of the other speculations and back and forths and things that we think it could have been and it might have been and this was happening and all of that talks, those things are not important. They're just things that sometimes we talk about, right? But we do want to get to the bottom, and we want this young man and his family to have justice because he's no longer here with us. And we need to know why. And that's it, period.
I also think you got to sometimes look at the timing of when these things happen. And it's not only about the political sphere, it's when it happened. It was quite a big weekend for some people. 4th of July weekend. A lot going on. So it's kind of significant with where they were going and what should have happened and, how it was a weekend of celebration. Even if you look at, you could say why George Floyd, it happened in front of our eyes. But if you think about it, it happened during a period where people were supposed to be locked down and not protesting, and look at what happened after George Floyd. There's kind of significant things that were happening at those times. And I think the political situation has become explosive with, with ICE, with all the other things that are going on, that it just takes another firework to set things off. And no one knows why.
I agree. That is true. But we'll just play just a little bit more of this video, and then we'll head into, our next topic, which is going to be Daniel Irving, which also actually lost his life in a very similar way, in a similar circumstance, somewhat. And so we will, listen to that as well, y'all, because these things are happening. They're going on. We're losing, people, young people in these ways. And it is kind of very side-eye. So, we can't be sure. But let's listen to a little bit more of the conversation here with the panelists on Don Lemon's channel. And then we'll go on to listen to the coverage and the commentary about Daniel Irving, who is from Texas. And I believe, is it Dallas, Imani? I think it's Dallas. Let me make sure. I don't want to be wrong and be giving out the wrong information. I believe he's from Dallas. Lake Ray Hubbard near Dallas, Texas. Yep, Dallas, Texas. Something very similar happened to that black boy too. And he just happened to be, on a boat and out on the lake with two white friends. But we're not saying or speculating what really had happened. It's another encounter such as so. But let's get back into a little bit of this on Don Lemon, and we'll make our chit chat after.
Let's just play it. He was on our show yesterday, but go for it.
Watched a ton of footage related to.
And the code is Don Lemon for 20. I was surprised.
It's just so matter of fact, somebody being over.
I'd be MAGA influenced after all this, which is the messed up. Don't get to say, no, they're just kids. They shouldn't be in it. They put themselves in it the second that homeboy sat down with Brandon Tatum. So now let's go. Let's do this.
And Reese, I also want to do in any investigation. Yeah, I'm sorry, Daniel, 30 seconds.
Okay.
The facts are what you see, but you also have to investigate what you don't see. And what you don't see when that young man does that interview, I think his name is Wyatt, what you don't see is tears. What you don't see is somebody being overcome with emotion. What you don't see is somebody choked up. If I proclaim this boy to be my best friend and he has died 2 weeks ago, and I am going back to the scene of where my friend lost his life. Number one, I don't even know that I'd be able to do it. But if I did, you would think that I would find enough condensation or Aquafina water bottle or scoop down in the damn lake and have enough audacity to throw a little bit of water up under my eye to formulate some semblance of a tear. And yet you got somebody there just so matter-of-factly explaining the ins and outs of a damn village pump. Where are the tears?
This episode is sponsored by Physician's Choice. Now, Connie, Daniel, we keep cutting you, but I just wanted to, we promised we're going to let you in. We're going to give you the floor. But we spoke to psychotherapist Elliot Connie yesterday, who basically, conveyed the same sentiment that that Daniva's talking about. I'm just going to play it, and then I'll let everybody respond. We'll let you in. Okay.
Over the past several days.
That's good. That's good, Andy. Let's just play it. He was on our show yesterday, but go for it.
Watched a ton of footage related to Nolan Wells' friends being interviewed. Two of them have now done interviews, or at least the interviews have been released. And there is one red flag that stands out to me above all else. The single most concerning red flag for me as a practicing clinician who's been working with clients for over 20 years and has sat with lots and lots of people. There's one thing that they are doing or actually not doing and not saying that is alarming to me. But before I explain what it is, I do want to say, I am not saying that these boys are guilty of committing a crime. I don't know what happened that day. And I can't say for sure that they did or did anything or played any role in Nolan Wells' death. But what I will say is some of the information that is coming out as they do these interviews and some of the things that they're saying and some of the details. I mean, some of these things are very suspicious and should be investigated. Now, the biggest red flag that I've noticed, not just in these interviews, but in the entire series of events that have taken place since Nolan Wells was missing, is the absence of curiosity, both in their language in these interviews and in their conduct since Nolan Wells' body went missing. And let me explain what I mean.
Okay, thank you, Andy.
You were going on an island.
Okay, so he explains the lack of emotion that he says when he was showing his friend around again. And he caveat, he's not saying anybody's guilty of anything. He is based on his experience as a professional psychotherapist. This is what he would notice as a red flag if he were to. He's not their doctor, but if he were their doctor. So, and this is the one, and it would be the one, this is a clip from yesterday that was on the show. I think Daniva played it on his show yesterday, but it's the one about where he says he's going out to visit the scene where it happened, and he said there's no emotion. But go ahead, Daniel.
Okay, I have to back up because everybody spoke before I got a chance to speak. So I'm backing up to what Clay said a while ago.
Yeah.
But Clay, You said that, you know, and again, I want to paraphrase what you said, so correct me if I'm wrong, that, you know, you've got to focus on these young men and you can't put them on the back burner, and the investigation can kind of stay on the back burner because focus on these young men is important.
No. I didn't say the investigation goes in the back burner. Okay. I'm saying they are part of the investigation. They are core to the investigation. Sorry.
Okay, yeah. So I agree with that. They are core. I'm just saying our focus needs to be on the investigation, because I agree with your point that, you know, we were told that everybody's talked to the authorities, right? We have been told that. We don't know. We haven't seen it. But I have the similar questions. If they haven't been talked to, why? Why not? I assume that Ledbetter says they're talking to everybody. So again, we have to take him for his word. I assume he's talking to everybody. But those are the questions I would have. Why haven't these boys been brought in? What is happening in terms of why hasn't there been, you know, more conversation about their involvement from an investigation standpoint? I also think the focus needs to be on the investigation, because why is the throat missing from the private autopsy? Why are the lungs missing from the private autopsy? Those will tell us more information than this garbled audio. Because Clay, when you spoke, you said, this is what I heard. Every person on here has said, this is what I've heard. And so because it's garbled, we all have different interpretations of this audio.
Sure.
You can have different interpretations of there being water in the lungs or water not in the lungs.
Yeah.
That is a standard fact. If there is water in the lungs, he drowned. Now, again, then you have to determine whether it was accidental or not. That's a whole other investigation. If there's no water in the lungs, then that means somebody did something to Nolan. And I feel like I'm being painted as this person who's defending the boys when I am not defending those boys at all. All I'm saying is I'm defending the truth. Let's get to the bottom of what actually happened. Now, as for, you know, their reaction to them and going back to Horn Island and showing remorse or not showing remorse or grief or whatnot, I said this yesterday and I'll say it again. No one knows how they're going to respond when you find yourself in this situation, right? I think it's suspicious that the forum that they chose to go on, why are you going on this man that you know has a certain platform? I talked about this yesterday. I don't think that's okay. I think if you're going to speak out, go to the neutral platforms and try to have your perspective told. So I think that to me is concerning. Now, on the flip side, again, you can't say that, and I'm not saying anyone other than Funky, who I believe is saying this, you can't say that then, oh, they did something. So Deneva, if it comes out that these boys had no involvement, are you willing to come on and have a big mea culpa and say I was wrong?
I absolutely will. I never have a problem eating my words. I got a 15-year history of doing it. I'm fallible. I am human. And I have been wrong before. But Daniel, this is not new. Okay, go ahead. I mean, history.
Because I am not, unlike you, I'm not drawing a conclusion. I'm not defending the boys. I'm not sitting here saying that they're guilty or not guilty. So if the facts come out that they are involved in murder Nolan, I have no mea culpa to make, because I'm going to say, wow, the facts came out. That's why I am waiting for the lungs. I'm waiting for the throat, and I want the investigation to proceed, because that is going to tell us more information than some garbled audio that everyone gets to say, oh, I heard this and I heard that. And so I don't think it's fair for us to jump to conclusions before we have any evidence. You have not visited Mississippi.
Can we change the language from boys to young men?
You have not
Because they're
visited
not boys.
No, sorry, yes, young men. No one here has visited myself. I've not visited Mississippi. Don has not visited Mississippi. Clay, Reese, all of us are just prognosticating based on what we have seen online. And so I just think that any one of us can point to any sort of thing and say, oh, no, he had his shoulders like this. Oh, no, he did this. So he's guilty. He's not guilty. And I don't think we should jump to a conclusion that they're innocent or that they're guilty until we have more information. And I will stand by that until we do.
And so let's be clear. I'm drawing a conclusion. They asked know what happened to that damn boy, and they're involved with it. And so I won't have a mea culpa to make either, because I know what I'm looking at. I know what I'm dealing with. I know what I feel. And I know what history has taught us time and time again when it comes to situations like this. They asked know what happened to their boy, and they involved with it.
Okay,
Can I
so
say-
listen,
oh,
I'm going to jump in. Yeah,
All right, y'all. So I'm gonna stop that video right there. But y'all, like I said, I have previously watched Boogie Daniva or whatnot, his platform. And I know, he stand 10 toes down, like I stand 10 toes down in what I feel and I think and I believe, right? And sometimes it's just a spirit thing. You can feel it in your spirit. Sometimes it's just a mindset thing or an experience thing because you've seen too much of these things happen. And it's just, you kind of draw a conclusion on that. It's not to say that it makes us right. It's not to say, that that's how it goes and that's how the cookie crumbles. But, you got to respect it anyway. But we're going to end that there. Okay. But there are a lot of things within this case. And if I'm going to be me and I'm going to be real and I'm going to be open, and honest about, the things that I think and I feel and I consume and I have thoughts and feelings and opinions on. I think that, yes, we don't have enough evidence right now to know for sure what went on. I do believe that a lot of things are speculation. Even a lot of the thoughts and feelings and opinions that I have are probably speculation. But with what we are getting baby fed as of now, and putting those pieces together as we receive them, I just feel like there's something is just not sitting right. We can't be sure. However, I'm not one side or the other. That's the thing. Like, I'm not saying that, what people are saying, the friends is the culprit. They're the ones that did. I'm not saying that. I'm saying that there is something that is fishy that definitely happened within this case, or there are things that are being held back purposefully from the evidence within this case. And my question is, when it comes to that, why? Because you're not supposed to hold back evidence. That is actually a crime. And so, it's just, if we want to tell the story, tell the story how it really went down. Get to it and let's come on. Like, what are we doing here? And all of the dragging out of it all. And, it's just for me. And again, being someone who sat by and watched the stories of Trayvon Martin, watched the stories of Breonna Taylor, watched the stories of George Floyd, watched the story of Sonia Massey, I do have some type of question in my mind, like, why does this one get the publicity that it gets? Why does this one get the celebrities throwing money on it and Al Sharpton and the Ben Crumps popping out and wanting to, represent this case so heavily? Like, it has to be a reason for that. It has to be a reason for that. Because if justice is supposed to be served, if we're supposed to care about all Black injustice, then why don't nobody show up for any other person? And you have to remember, this is a privileged Black boy that comes from a prestigious family, lives in a great community and neighborhood, parents is, in whatever positions they're in, spends his time around friends that, parents is also equally in, predominant positions. And so does that make that life more important than a life of somebody that might be growing up on the streets of New Jersey, New York, Philadelphia, or Chicago, that may not have as much money, their parents may not have or hold those positions, right? They can't get a Tyler Perry to throw money on the case. They can't get a Colin Kaepernick to throw money on the case. That's what, and I'm not saying that this boy doesn't deserve justice and the truth needs to come out about what has happened to him. It absolutely does. And justice needs to be served. We need to know what happened to that young man. And we want the truth and nothing but the truth. Absolutely. But one of the things for me that's just like a red flag is just like, why do that same energy don't come when there's other Black injustices that happen in the communities? Is it because you're not in that same class? Is it because you don't have that money, you're not in that same tax bracket, or your parents don't have or hold those positions of prestige that people or society will see as prestige, being like judges and lawyers and things of that nature? So what if somebody mama just work at the corner store? That's all she can do right now. Is it right for her son to be unjustifiedly unalived and never get to the bottom of the case. Like we didn't this, and none of those stories blew up this big. Do y'all remember any of those reports or those stories blowing up this big? I never seen no celebrities that popped in that wanted to help. I didn't see that when I was watching the stories. Now I will shout out to Ben Crump. Ben Crump do be trying to help everybody. He do, but he's a lawyer, and we know what lawyers do. There's justice, but there's also, you gotta do your job at the same time, And when you see you got a case, you got a case. So I'm just being real about it. You know what I mean? And, if anybody doesn't like that or rubs them the wrong way or they feel uncomfortable, I'm just saying, can we just be real sometimes in life? Because that's just how I feel about it. It's just like all of these other injustices that we've seen literally over the past maybe 3, 4, 5 years, right? Or let's say 6 years. We in 2026. A lot of these injustices start happening that we were seeing in the media spaces for us to actually witness because we were sitting still. Started happening in 2020 because we were sitting still. Not to say that these injustices just start happening in 2020. Child, historically, we know these injustices have been happening for decades now. But when one gets more attention than the other, and it really get like blown and inflated all the way up, I just feel like I wonder why that is, And then, it could be place and time and all of these things. We got Trump in office and this administration is doing what they're doing, but I don't care about none of that. I care about the truth and I care about justice. I don't care who's sitting in the presidential seat. I don't care who is sitting in the Senate seat. I don't care who is sitting in the judge's seat. Everybody do your job and do it properly and do it fairly for everybody across the board. That's your job, right? So I don't know. That type of stuff just kind of bothers me and it just rubs me the wrong way and it gets under my skin because it's like, I'm not saying this young man don't deserve justice and for people really to dig deep and find out what happened to him. But why did nobody else want to do that or put up that level of energy for any of the other Black injustices that we've seen simultaneously happen over the past couple years? Fair is fair across the board. If you care, you care across the board. You know what I'm saying? But anyway, let's take a song break. I do have 2 more I want to get into. 2 videos, real short, y'all. I promise you, because I know we're going at the 3-hour mark. And so I'm going to take this little song break, and then we're going to get into these 2 when it comes to Danielle Irvin. This is another case that is similar to the Nolan Wells case, but has not received the same level of attention. And that's what I'm just wondering, like, what is that about? Why is it like that? I'm pretty sure because his parents may not be, whatever. I'm not going to say my thoughts and feelings because then people will come at me and childish. I say, but I'm just using common sense here. I'm not getting it. If we're going to have full justice across the board, let's have full justice across the board. If we're going to be activists across the board, let's be activists across the board. If one has an injustice, then all have an injustice that have an injustice. And why not help each and every one the same way? That's just my thoughts, feelings, and opinions. Because at the end of the day, what? We're all human, right? Okay. Let's take this song break, y'all, and we will be right back.
The soul of humanity cries. A roof above, a shelter from the storm, a gentle hand to keep a spirit warm, a plate of food, a mind that's free to learn, a simple peace, a righteous wage to earn. That's right. These are the needs to better rock in the base, the sacred ground of the whole human race. But the screen is screaming, selling something cheap, while the real world babies cry themselves to sleep. Can't ignore it. We are human. Yeah, they're painting pictures, twisted and unreal, teaching our children how they ought to feel. All that values in the label on your shoes, or the filtered life you desperately choose. They magnify the hate, they celebrate the greed, and platter poison to suffocate your weed. We gotta reach our children, pull them from the glow and show them a beauty that the media don't know. Let them know. No tech division, the mission of the television, spitting division. I'm in for prison, got the youth chasing life's addicted to the feed. Ignore the hunger, the fundamental need. Nigga love your vitals on the digital stage, putting the future artists in the ritual page. Now here to break the cycle, gotta cut the cord. The real word is powerful, mightier than the source. We teach them about their history, teach them about their grace, teach them about the power in every single face. Let's go. We are human. Loud and loud and sound. Everyone got a right to be loud, got the right to be led, a right to be made whole. This is our story. This is our sacred song. In the eyes of the Creator, yeah, we all belong. We are human. Work more than they can prize. We are the angel whispers in the lonely dark. We will build a world where every voice is heard. Every single one, from the suburbs to the burning. Love is not a whisper, but a mighty thundering wave. A word of action, breaking the chain. A word of power, washing out the pain. It ain't a feeling, it's a verb. It's what you do for me, for them, for us, for you. Cause they just a track, just a call to action. For every mother, father, every single fraction of the unity, holding it down on the ground. Time to get loud, make a revolutionary sound. Look your child in the eye, I tell her that they mad. I tell them this spirit's something that don't lie and shine. I tell them knowledge is the weapon, love is the shield, and the truth is the harvest. We gonna grow in this field, yeah. We are human. Oh yes, we are. Teach for children. Teach for truth. Reach where you hit the roof in a fruit. We are human. A right to live. Right to live. Teach the truth. Reach where you hit the roof in a fruit. We are human. Single soul on this
All right, y'all. So we about to go ahead and wrap this up real quick. We just have a few more things that we are going to tap into. You know, we were just talking about Nolan Wells and that case, and we all may have our own thoughts and feelings about what is really going on with the case. But at the bottom of it, you know, the only thing that's important is justice being served. And for this young man and what has happened to him to be known fully, and for his parents to get closure, to understand what exactly happened to him. And we want to say rest in peace for him, and prayers is sent up to his family. But Nolan Wells is not the only young Black man or Black young boy that has, you know, lost their life in a similar, you know, situation. And so the next one we'll be getting into, y'all, is going to be one that is less talked about and doesn't have all of, you know, the attention around it. But Daniel Mike Irving, right? The situation that happened with him at Lake Ray Hubbard, arrest and indisputable coverage. So we'll be listening to a few audios, not very long, y'all. I promise I'm not going to keep y'all too much longer. We do have a piece here from, you know, Undisputable with Dr. Rashad Ritchie. And he will be speaking on the drowning and aliving of 18-year-old Daniel Mike Irving, an honor roll student and competitive swimmer at Chase High School, has led to criminal arrest and national outrage. You know, it's there. They say it's there, but we don't see it as much. Anyway, so as far as the breakdown, the incident at Lake Ray Hubbard, Danielle jumped off a railway bridge. near Lake Ray Hubbard, near Dallas, Texas, while with two acquaintances. Daniel did not resurface and his body was not recovered for 4 days. There was some tampering when it came to, the results of why and how he passed and the arrest. So rather than calling 911 or seeking immediate help, 19-year-old Lucas Roper, an accomplice, allegedly threw Daniel's clothes into the brush, tossed his cell phone out of a moving vehicle, deleted digital messages, and fled the scene. There were demands for, unaliving charges. Roper was arrested for tampering with physical evidence, but attorney Ben Crump and Daniel's mother, Tamika Irvin, are demanding that prosecutors convene a grand jury to upgrade the charges to full criminal homicide and murder. So before we get into those videos, Imani, did you have a few things that you wanted to add to this segment? This is going to be our last part before we get up out of here, girl, because I know it's late for you.
Sorry, what did you say? Sorry, I missed that.
We're talking about Daniel Irving now, so we moved on to that part. I know you was taking a call, so my bad. I didn't even realize you was taking a call. No, okay, so I'll go back over it. We talking about Daniel Mike Irving. Remember the one Lake Ray Hubbard? And we were talking about that case in comparison to, the Nolan Wells case, because it is so similar, you know what I mean? And so, yeah, that's basically what we talked about earlier. That's the part we was getting into now. But before I went to play the videos, I just wanted to know if you had any commentary on that you wanted to give. You muted. You can unmute. Oh, she may be having some audio issue. Yeah. Okay. Well, let's just go ahead. She'll be right back, y'all. But anyway, let's just go ahead real quick. So I don't want to keep y'all too long either. Let me pop this up on the screen real quick. This is the first one, right? So we got two of them. So this is the first one. This is a news report. And so this is a story about what's going on and what has been going on with the Daniel Irving case, which is very much similar to the Nolan Wells case. Another Black young man, that happened to, I guess, have, predominantly Caucasian friends. And that doesn't mean anything. It's not to say because you have Caucasian friends, your life's going to go to demise. We're not saying that. But these drownings and things of this nature, it's a little bit questionable sometimes, and these things happening so similar, it's just like, what are we supposed to deduce, and it's not a racial thing, it's just a justice thing, and we want to get to the bottom of it. Why are these things happening like this? What is really going on? And so let me go ahead and pull this up for you guys. Hold on one second. This is a news report. So I'm gonna go ahead and show this to y'all real quick. Give me just a sec. StreamYard is real trippy. Okay, here we go. All right, let's get into this report real quick, y'all. And like I said again, this is Daniel Irving. Daniel, I keep saying Danielle. Daniel Irving, another young Black boy that lost his life in the midst of the water while being there amongst friends that happened to be Caucasian at the time. We're not saying it's a race thing. As of now, we can't be sure, but he is no longer with us. So let's just get into this video and hear some of these reports.
Tonight, a family still searching for answers is learning more about the final moments of Daniel Irving's life. Newly released autopsy findings are shedding light on the North Texas man's drowning death in Lake Ray Hubbard. As two teenagers face tampering with evidence charges, Irving's loved ones say they believe more serious charges are warranted. NBC5's Shannon Miller reports on the new details revealed today.
According to the autopsy report for Daniel Irving obtained by NBC5 from the Dallas County Medical Examiner, after jumping from a bridge into Lake Ray Hubbard in April, Irving, a high school senior swim team member, was seen to surface once, call out for help before becoming submerged and did not resurface.
Why would you throw away his clothes and delete messages and not even call his mother?
Last week, attorneys for the family of Daniel Irving called for a full and impartial investigation into his death. 19-year-old Lucas Roper has been charged with tampering with evidence after admitting to Dallas police he panicked after Irving drowned. Detectives say Roper discarded Irving's clothes and deleted all communications with Irving on his cell phone. Investigators also say Roper and another minor suspect threw Irving's cell phone into a ditch. The autopsy report saying the drowning was an accident and concluded that after police interviewed the two other individuals with Irving, and despite initial suspicions, there are no current suspicions of foul play.
If it was your child, would you say it was an accidental death, or would you say it was a murder?
Dallas police said last week, as with any active criminal investigation, detectives evaluate information as it is received and will continue to follow the facts where they lead. The Dallas County DA telling NBC5 Monday it does not comment on pending cases. The Dallas County Medical Examiner reports saying should further information come to light in the future, the cause and/or manner of death may be amended. Attorneys for Irving's mother said they have no comment on the findings of the autopsy report or if their calls for an independent investigation include an independent autopsy. In Dallas, Shannon Miller, NBC5.
Okay, Imani, so that was the first report that I wanted to go ahead and show. We have one of a little bit more detail as well. But before we get into that, does you have anything that you wanted to add or any thoughts or feelings, opinions on this case as well? If you still having tech issues, don't worry. It's okay. I understand that. I think that the mics and stuff is going in and out because the weather and all these things, child, it be cutting up. But anyway, let's go ahead and get into the next video real quick, y'all. We'll be moving right along. So yeah, this is going to be one that gives you a little bit more detail and also, you know, some commentary and personal thoughts, feelings, and opinions on this case as well. But I believe that, you know, no matter what young Black boy it is, it all should be given the same attention. That's just my thoughts, feelings, and opinions. And this is one that I don't think has been heavily as talked about, but it also did happen. So let's go ahead and get into this video real quick, y'all. And we'll be right back.
Arrested for following a drowning of a Black 18-year-old. I want you to go to the picture full mass. This story has been underreported, in my opinion. I'm taking you to the suburbs near Dallas, Texas. 18-year-old Daniel Irving went fishing with two friends at Lake Ray Rubbert, but he never made it back home. His friends also did not report his death, and his belongings were disposed of. Sounds familiar? There's more. He was on his school's swim team, although the medical examiner determined his cause of death to be an accidental drowning. We'll get into those details. Let's just say this on face value. He's on the swim team, and the cause of death was considered to be accidental drowning, but he's on the swim team. There's no arrest. There's definitely circumstantial evidence here because his belongings are not able to be found. Still, cause of death ruled to be self-inflicted, accidental. There's more. Put him up full mass. 18-year-old Lucas Roper and 17-year-old juvenile suspect were arrested after failing to report Daniel's death and allegedly tossing his belongings and deleting evidence from his cell phone. Once again, it sounds familiar. The pair were eventually arrested on charges of tampering with physical evidence, a third-degree felony. Police told ABC News on Monday. We're going to go to the arrest affidavit. According to the arrest affidavit, Irving visited Lake Ray Hubbard on the 14th of April with Roper and the 17-year-old juvenile on the day he went missing. The three jumped into the water from a railroad bridge near Miller Road, where Irving is believed to have drowned. After the teen drowned, Roper and the juvenile fled the scene, and Roper allegedly threw Irving's clothing into a tree line near the bridge. That's according to an arrest affidavit seen by the outlet. The juvenile also threw Irving's cell phone from the vehicle on Roper's orders. The affidavit alleges Roper allegedly deleted communications with Irving from his cell phone because he, quote, was aware that there would be an investigation into Daniel Irving's death, and he did not want to get into trouble, end quote, the affidavit states. Roper allegedly admitted he panicked after Irving drowned during a voluntary interview with detectives. Now, keep in mind, everything that we're citing is based on the eyewitness testimony of individuals who will likely be the primary suspects in a murder, okay? Keep that in mind. There's a timeline to all of this. Timeline, April 14th. April 14th, Daniel's mother filed a missing persons report with the Raleigh Police Department after she did not or could not get in contact with her son, who had left with friends to go fishing. That's April 14th. 2 days later, April 16th, the Raleigh Police Department issued a community alert online detailing the disappearance of the teenager. Police said Daniel was without several personal belongings, including his driver's license and cash. Officials added that this was suspicious and uncommon behavior for Daniel per his family. Now, one day after that, April 17th, Daniel's body was recovered from the lake 4 days after he went missing. According to the family, the police department did not handle this case with any investigatory urgency. They did not utilize the aggression and the, power, the might of their investigative ability in order to find their son. So Daniel's family asserts this was mishandled. Quote, the family believes the urgency they requested was not met during the crucial or critical early stages of the investigation. End quote. Dominique Alexander, founder of the Next Generation Action Network, said in an open letter to the Dallas Police Department that has now taken over this investigation. Quote, in the time since, the silence and lack of communication have only deepened their worry that this case is not receiving the attention and diligence it demands. Before I continue,
all right, y'all. So we'll stop it right there for a quick commentary break. Imani, did you want to go first with any of your thoughts and feelings and opinions on this case, and even in just comparison to what's going on with the Nolan Wells case? What do you feel about all this?
Well, sorry, what point? Where are we? About halfway through this?
Yeah, it's just about halfway done.
Yeah. There's similarities. Obviously, he's 18 as well. And it's amazing the lack of public attention this has received. But he went fishing with two friends, similar to the Nolan Wells case, went off with some friends and never returned home. And then death is ruled as an accidental drowning. He was a member of the swim team. And then obviously there's the action of the two teenagers who were there, who were arrested on allegations of tampering with physical evidence after his death. And that's trigger warning there. According to the affidavit discussed, his belongings were discarded. It looks like telephones messages were deleted, I believe, allegedly. And there's also, same, it's very similar because the timelines of when he's been reported missing, followed by the investigation, followed by the quick resolution or conclusion that it was an accidental drowning. It all has a lot of similarities to what was going on with Nolan.
I absolutely agree. And again, I guess why some people could be questionable when it comes to what happened with Nolan is because within this case, we have to understand that, according to the arrest in the affidavit, when, Daniel drowned, Roper, who was his friend that also equally jumped into or off of the bridge into the lake with him, admits that he panicked. And so instead of calling 911, he decided that, he would throw Daniel's clothes into the tree line, toss his phone out of a moving car, and delete text messages and flee. Roper admitted doing this specifically because he knew that there would be an investigation and he did not want to get into trouble. So, because of these actions, the Dallas police arrested him and charged him with tampering with physical evidence, which is a third-degree felony. So, why the demand for the murder charges? Well, Ben Crump and Irving family argue that the cover-up itself points to something more sinister than a simple panic. The swimming ability. This young man was on the swim team. Daniel was 18 years old and a competitive swimmer at his high school team. The family finds it implausible that a strong swimmer drowned accidentally under normal conditions. This is something that they do all the time. Intentional concealment. The active destruction of evidence, throwing the victim's phone away, deleting communication, leads to the family to suspect physical foul play, allegedly, occurred before Daniel went into the water. Failure to render aid. Leaving someone to drown without dialing emergency services or even attempting to help them raises moral and potentially legal questions regarding criminal negligence. And so, why the prosecutors haven't filed murder charges? Well, under Texas criminal law, to prove murder or manslaughter, prosecutors must prove beyond a reasonable doubt that a defendant committed an affirmative act that directly caused the victim's unaliving or acted with extreme recklessness causing the unaliving. Failure to help is rarely murder. Under standard criminal law, unless someone has a legal duty of care, like a parent or a caregiver, failing to rescue someone or failing to call 911, as callous as it seems, does not automatically meet the legal definition of murder or criminal homicide. Lack of physical evidence. Without the physical evidence of trauma on the body, which the autopsy did not find, or direct witness testimony, confessions indicating physical violence, prosecutors cannot legally justify bringing murder charges before a grand jury. While the actions of Roper and his companion were clearly illegal and severe enough to warrant felony tampering charges, upgrading those charges to murder without concrete physical or forensic proof of intent to unalive would likely fail in court. So yet another loophole. But, the law operates the way the law operates. And, these things happen. And I think a lot of people know that. And I think that's probably why they make the decisions that they make, to wiggle and squirm their way out of, legal issues. But that's all I got for that, y'all. And that's literally all we got for this live. We're going to go ahead and end it here. Like we said, we're going to do a part 2. We'll come back tomorrow. It's about 7 p.m. for me here, so I know it's extremely late for Imani. in the UK. And so we're going to go ahead and end this live, y'all. We're going to give some of our final thoughts and opinions on everything we spoke about, and wrap it up. And we will join y'all tomorrow with another great live and conversation to have if you wish to join. But yeah, Imani, I'm gonna go ahead and let you give your final thoughts and get up out of here, girl. And then I got some things I'm gonna read when you're done. Are you there, girl? You having tech issue? It might be a tech issue. I don't know what's going on. It could be StreamYard, girl. I can't be sure. What are you? Can you hear me? Okay. She probably got some audio stuff going on. Child, this StreamYard is really bugging. Like, it's really terrible. I gotta find something else to use. This is bad. Hold on, y'all. Give us just a second. We're gonna go ahead and wrap this up real quick. Give me just a bit. I'm trying to see what is going on. Hold on.
Sorry, did you call me?
Yeah. I was like, I know you having the tech difficulties, so it's okay. But we're just wrapping it up now. So you can go ahead and give your final thoughts, and then I'll give mine after. You can go ahead and hop off. Because I know it's a lot later there for you than it is for me here. So that's all. We're done. We'll do a part 2 tomorrow.
Yeah, I think I'll probably have more to say in the part 2, but I think it's interesting, these two cases, and we'll probably do a short recap on this stuff tomorrow because we're kind of half in, half out of this one. But two very interesting cases that are very similar age of victim as well. And rest in peace to the young men that have passed, and prayers go out to their family. But yeah, the only thing I can say is I will see you on the next one, and I will speak to you guys soon. Take care, and protect your peace, and God bless.
All right, girls. So thank you so much for joining me. I really appreciate it, y'all. We be rocking it out, girl. Go ahead and get you some sleep. I know you're tired. It's late there for you. But I'm gonna go ahead and end it off right here, y'all. About just the things that we talked about here today. And we will get into a few more of the topics, especially the Trump stuff, y'all. That's always coming around. We will get in that tomorrow and on some, additional lives. But as we close out tonight and this evening, we want to leave you with a simple, unmistakable truth. The fight for human dignity and real justice is never given to us. It is carried on the shoulders of people who refuse to stay silent. When we speak about the names of Daniel Mike Irving and Nolan Wells, we aren't just reading police reports or autopsy files. We are speaking about young Black men with bright futures, loving families, and dreams that were cut far too short. We are speaking about mothers who should be celebrating their sons' achievements, but are instead forced to fight through grief just to get basic answers. When evidence is discarded, when critical recordings go missing, and when officials rush to call suspicious unalivings accidents, it's a deep wound to an entire community. But as long as we have breath, we still stand with these families, amplify their cause for truth, and demand that every single life is treated with equal worth and reverence under the law. And that demand for accountability doesn't stop at our lakes or our local courthouses. It extends to our institutions, where transparency about human life and military sacrifice must never be buried under red tape. It extends to global organizations, where human rights and civil liberties cannot be traded away for profit or convenience. It extends to our leaders in Congress, like Representatives Jasmine Crockett, we'll get into that on the next slide, who reminds us that true courage means calling out our systemic hypocrisy and standing up for victims who have been ignored for far too long. And it extends to our world, where peace demands wisdom, restraint, and unwavering commitment to protecting human life above all else. This is where we come together on these episodes like Global Politics with Purpose. We don't do this for applause. We don't do this because truth matters. We know truth matters, but we understand that justice matters. Our young people matter. And to every parent holding their children a little tighter tonight, to every advocate standing on the front lines, and to every single one of you in the live or listening in the cut or in the community, do not lose heart. Do not let heavy news of this world make you cold or weary. Hold on to your faith, hold on to each other, and keep standing up for what's right. So from both of us, Golden Queen and Imani, thank you for giving us your time, your trust, and your energy today. We want you to always walk in strength, live with purpose, and keep demanding the truth. So good night and God bless you all. Let's go ahead and end it with a bop. We'll talk to y'all soon. Golden and Imani out. Bye.
Yeah. Ain't no more quiet now. Nah. Tell them run that back. I said, hands up, head high, 10 toes. They monetize pain while the truth get froze. Big talks online, but they hearts stay cold. Still fighting for rights that was promised long ago. Ooh. We ain't your silence, nah. We ain't your fear. Hey. Every time they shut a door, we appear. From the city to the globe, here the people get loud. You can bury one voice, but you can't stop the crowd. Yeah. I'm from the side where the pressure make diamonds, where mothers pray hard cause the system stay violent. Kids learn trauma before they learn signs. Politicians campaign while communities dying. Look, everybody tweeting, everybody streaming, everybody woke till the camera stop beaming. Truth don't trend when the money intervening. That's why the real ones exhausted and screaming. Big change, fake morals, podium capping. Whole lot of hashtags, ain't nobody action. Trying to sell the vision with celebrity distractions. Meanwhile, rights disappear through strategic reactions. Close schools, close polls, close cases. Still see hate written all on their faces. History repeating, just switching the phrases. Different decades, same games, new stages. And they wonder why the people don't trust. Every headline feel dangerous to us. Every promise turned dust, but we still rise up, 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 rise up. Hands up, head high, 10 toes. They monetize pain while the truth get froze. Big talks online, but their hearts stay cold. Still fighting for rights that was promised long ago. Hey, we ain't your silence, we ain't your fear. Every time they shut a door, we appear. From the city to the globe, here the people get loud. You could bury one voice, but you can't stop the crowd. Yeah, now everybody playing God with the algorithms, programming narratives and calling it the system. Who decides truth? Who decides wisdom? If the future artificial, who protect the children? Too much rage in the timeline scrolling. Young minds vulnerable, anger overloading. Everybody radical when the fear keep growing and the world stay tense while the missiles stay loaded overseas. War drums, contracts get signed. Oil, power, money always hide behind pride. More folks pay while the billionaires glide. And the news turn trauma into primetime vibes. Talk peace with a smirk while the stocks go up. To the working class, hold on, but enough is enough. People tired, people broke, people fed up. Still they call us angry every time we stand up. Stand up, stand up, stand up, stand up, stand up, stand up. Listen, it's bigger than left or right, bigger than red or blue. People just wanna live, people just wanna breathe, people just wanna matter. But every generation gotta drag justice uphill, while somebody profits off the chaos. That's the part they don't say out loud. Hands up, the beat line goes. Can't sell fear to a soul that knows. Power to the people, let the whole world know. We ain't your silence, we ain't your shame. If the people wake up, everything changed. From the city to the globe, hear the whole crowd roar. You can't dim light when the spirit want war. Rise up, even when they try to divide us. Rise up, even when the pressure find us. Yeah. Still here, still loud, still fighting. Love. They don't know her like I do. Nah. Golden. She moved through the city with her hair held high. Pretty brown skin with a storm inside. Everybody see the glow, they don't know the pressure. Smile so warm, but her heart no weather. Late nights riding while the skyline blur. Trying not to cry when the memories occurred. Had to learn fast, everybody ain't loyal. Some people love you long as they control you. Now she move careful, energy expensive. Too many fake vibes hiding in the friendship. Used to give love with her hands wide open. Now every scar got the whole vibe frozen. They don't know her like I. No, they don't know. She goes by golden, soft voice, deep soul, hope or glowing. She goes by golden. City lights dancing with her heart stay open. Long dark roads, but she still stay focused. Everybody watching, but they don't really know. She goes by golden. Too much grace with the games they throwing. Real love, rare, so spirits they got it. Beautiful soul, but the pain left marks in it. Mirror tell the truth when the lights go dim. All the things she carry weight heavy within. She survived nights she don't even speak on. Still finding peace while the whole world ain't wrong. Funny how the love disappear when you're healing. Funny how the fate come around when you win. Now she trusts God more than people intend. Just cause smiles hot and being hidden the big. She's still soft-hearted but she way less naive. Can't keep pouring love but there's nothing received. Still dancing slow through the hurt and confusion. Trying not to lose herself chasing illusions. She survived the fire. Still glowing through the smoke. Still still dangerous. Still chosen. She goes by golden. Slow so deep made the whole room notice. Heavy lies couldn't break what was chosen. Still standing tall while the whole world folding. She goes by golden. Heartbreak turned to pens in the matter. Now the tears got rhythm when she's singing. And they still don't know her like that. They still don't know her like that. Spend too much time looking for love in strangers. Spend too much time letting outside voices shake the mirror. But at the end of the night, when the lights fade, when the city cried, when the tears dried, we still got